welcome to episode 120 of Floating Through Film. It is your host Luke, and today we are continuing our series on the early films of Jean-Luc Godard and doing two more of his 60s films, specifically Two or Three Things I Know About Her, which came out in, actually, both these came out in 67, actually. So, but yeah, Two Things I Know About Her and La Chinoise. So before we get into them, let me introduce my co-host Blake.
What's up?
And Danny.
Hello.
I feel like in terms of like our journey through Godard right now, these definitely feel like really the first films where he's really like super upfront. Like he's definitely getting like, you can definitely see like how he's getting more political and like radicalized through these films. I feel like especially compared to the other ones. And he's very discreet about it. But he's not afraid to, and especially it definitely feels like the start of like of that for him, which makes them really interesting. But yeah, I guess what are y'all's like just overall like thoughts on both these movies? Just like very generally.
Okay, just both because I do see a similarity like that. Like it really does. Like to me, that's what Godard's whole career is like kind of just deconstructing narrative, disjunctions, these kind of things I've mentioned, but it does really feel like these are the two where it's like kind of reversed fully.
Yeah.
Like I don't even know if these don't even have narratives at all.
Not really, no.
Both
of them like, especially two things about like teases one.
Yeah.
Like it honestly feels like to me, kind of how I feel about it is like it almost feels like an updated version or revised version of Vivre sa vie in a way.
It does with the prostitute storylines and everything.
But since he's almost like, instead of like how you watch a narrative movie and you see you derive the meaning from what's happening, like the drama, you could say. He's really just telling it to you this time, and he's fragmenting it as well.
The thing, there's like no drama though.
Exactly, he's taking that out.
Yeah, exactly.
And replacing.
But it's only actually the course of a day.
I mean, yeah.
The two or three things. That's why it seems like it's totally different. It's not even.
There's similar because there's a scene. I'll probably bring it up when we go through it. But like, there's a scene that literally I'm pretty sure is the same cafe from the opening scene of Vivre sa vie, because there's a very similar pinball machine.
It might be.
That looks like a same thing.
I can definitely see the Vivre sa vie comparisons.
See
that one we even talked about. That was like his most kind of normal movie in a way. Like maybe you might show the first Godard. Someone like that. But this is like that's why like I could see it has the same premise, but it's like Godard is trying to do totally different things. And I guess that's another thing we can say about both these movies is the reason why, at least, and you kind of mentioned this.
Yeah.
And I think Richard Brody kind of points this out too. Is the reason why he's trying to at least fully deconstruct just cinema and like narrative of what he feels about it in the first place is because of the political aspect.
Yeah. And
Richard Brody said, like, I think he says this more about La Chinoise, but it kind of applies to both of these. It's like he saw at a certain point that politics was becoming more radical than cinema, and cinema was just not keeping up, basically. Yeah. And I've seen some of his Vertov Group movies. And I guess Edgar Morin, like the guy who made the Vertov.
You directed with him.
Yeah. Also helped him in La Chinoise a little bit. I guess.
Yeah, I read that too. Yeah.
Too, so.
Which you see what apparently Godard like saw him as. He didn't even see him more as like. He saw him more as like a person to live with him and like live with like the same ideals as him, basically.
But basically, they were trying to. Honestly, you can tell. Let me find the quote because this is about La Chinoise, what we're talking about now. Because you can tell he's reading Vertov at this point, and I'm not even kidding. Like he honestly, Richard Brody, he quotes this interview that Godard did on 1967 February about basically banning American cinema or something. Let me read the quote. He says, "It wouldn't be bad to ban the American cinema for a while. 3/4 of the planet considers cinema from the angle according to the criteria of the American cinema. People must become aware that there are other ways to make films in the American way. Moreover, this would force filmmakers of the United States to revise their conceptions. It would be a good thing." And do you remember I read a Vertov quote. It's actually really similar. Damn, so, because I went and looked it up. So this was what he wrote this in 1924. "We cannot foresee the results of. He said, "Quote: The most powerful weapon and the most powerful technology are in the hands of the European and American film bourgeoisie. 3/4 of the human race is stupefied by the opium of bourgeois film dramas.
Oh my gosh.
Like, honestly, you might have even read the same quote, like, and
Yeah,
then, like,
that's
he had it in
crazy.
his head or something.
That's crazy.
But you can tell, like, because Bertov, that was a huge thing for him. It was, like, not even a director of him alone. It's supposed to be everyone is kind of making the film together in a way.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like what Bertov is, Godard is going to start trying to do, like, this kind of collectivist filmmaking in a way. He's trying to, anyway. The thing is, like, it's always tough for me to, because, like I said, in a certain sense, I agree with that, because a film is a collective. Everyone has to make it. But it's like, still, even like La Chinoise, like, it's Godard all over. Like, it's just pure Godard, you know? Like, I don't think Raoul Godard shot this one either.
Yeah.
So it kind of looks a little different, maybe, but...
Still, I mean, it looks incredible.
Actually, let me make sure if that's true.
Because there's a shot of the cameraman.
Actually, yeah, he did shoot.
Did he shoot it? Okay, that makes sense.
Yes, he did.
There's a shot of the camera.
Yeah,
is he?
That is him. That's
probably him.
That is him. Yeah.
Because there's a similar. He shoots.
So he's already quoted him in one of his movies.
He shot him as well in Contempt too.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that was him in Contempt that was doing that.
Yeah.
So that makes sense.
Okay. No. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying. Okay, like, it's still Godard, but
yeah, it's still Godard.
Some of the versatile, like, he has this on his mind, like, what are different ways to make cinema outside of just American filmmaking. But Godard's more complex because he loves American cinema at the same time, which is, like, Bertov never did. But that's one thing. Like, he definitely must have, like, I'm not sure if this is true, but Edgar Moore must have introduced it to Bertov. That's my theory.
Did Bertov not like Chaplin or anything?
Well, Bertov writings only became popular around this time. Like, they got translated in France or something, because, like, they were hard to get for a while. Outside of Russia. Even probably in Russia.
Yeah.
No, but Bertov hated Chaplin, though?
Yeah, so I was curious. Like,
no, he liked Chaplin, remember? I have that enthusiasm.
Okay, so he didn't hate all American cinema.
Chaplin's not American cinema.
Oh, okay. Here we go.
Not like the cinema. I mean, I've liked Nicholas Ray so far, so I love that. I love
John Ford.
John Ford.
Well, see, that was the funny thing whenever you said the banning American movies thing. Because, like, there's literally a quote in, I think, La Chinoise about banning American movies and how, like, how you wouldn't be able to get, like, Johnny Guitar if you banned American movies or something.
Yeah.
Like,
well, he was talking about a real thing, like the censorship board in France at the time. Or I think he's actually talking about a communist group.
Or in a newspaper. It was a newspaper. Like a newspaper.
Something left related, and how they would just hate all American cinema.
Yeah,
like that's what Godard hated. Yeah.
Especially even Johnny Guitar.
Even Johnny Guitar,
which is crazy.
This guy brings up Johnny Guitar so much. Like now that I've seen the movie and I know Nicholas Ray is, it's like it hits even more.
Yeah, but like we get it. Like, it makes sense. But I guess.
But well, no, but that's basically what I.
Basically, okay.
I will bring up more as we
go.
We'll
definitely do as we go through.
The most interesting thing about 2 or 3 things I know about her, honestly, is it feels like late era Godard, smack dab in the middle of the 60s. Like, I think that was the weirdest thing watching it the first time for me, was I had already seen, like, Film Socialism, The Image Book, Goodbye to Language, like, all these, like, late Godard, like postmodern fucking takes on cinema.
Yeah.
And then I went back to watch some of these other 60s ones, and then I watched 2 or 3 things I know about her, and it's the most like those late ones that I've seen.
Godard's literally narrating it, like,
yes.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And it's 2 or 3 things I know about her. Is a really interesting movie. It's like it hypnotizes me.
Oh, definitely.
Like in a good way, that like not in the way that like puts me to sleep. It does. I do get drowsy at times just because I'm listening to words.
He's
for a long
whispering to
time.
you.
Yeah,
He's whispering,
literally
like
ASMR whispering to me. But it's just such an interesting movie. But
I mean, there's nothing wrong too with it moving like soothing you maybe to like a more drowsy place. I mean, Receptacle said like he has a mind, or yeah. I mean, Receptacle really said like I sleep to my own movies. Like, yeah, I guess we can go and get to 2 other things I know about her, but like. I do love 2 Things I Know About Her as well, especially like I just love it because it's kind of like it is video essay. It's like basically just, to me at least, it feels just like Godard commenting on like different aspects of modern society, especially like obviously consumerism and like capitalism. And it's just a film that has like a lot of interesting ideas, and especially just like what he's doing formally, like going back and forth between these like, he's going into a narrative, but then all of a sudden like the characters in the narrative will turn to the camera, and then like it's like all of a sudden like they're in the narrative, but then like they turn to the camera, and then it's like Godard talking like through them in a way.
Yes.
And it becomes really interesting.
See, you saying that, Godard talking through them. That's what I mean. Like, Godard has always done that through all his movies.
Yes, but it's more easy.
It just now he's just trying to break that barrier. Well, that's actually a major point, I think, of just like, if there's something to take out of the French New Wave, it's just that's what all the directors believed in a way was.
Yeah.
Directors talk through their movies. They use the different characters in different ways, you know. But like to me, Godard is like, it does feel like this movie he's like fully, just like openly admitting it. You know, like you mentioned like 3 different layers almost. There's the, you could say narrative of Marina Vladi's character. I forgot her name in the movie. I forgot, but so there's her. But then she even mentions at the beginning she's also an actress.
Yes,
you know, so you can say that.
They do that in La Chinoise too.
But that's kind of the layer you're talking about of when she actually breaks the camera and then she'll talk to the camera, but through Godard's voice. Yeah. And usually that's where directors will stop. There's like those 2 layers. Yeah. But then we also get Godard's own voice whispering outside of that. Okay, yeah. You know, usually that voice is a different narrator. Usually, you know, in like a normal movie or something, it'll be like a third person or something. But it's usually not the director's own.
Like it's almost like he's writing like deep film criticism or film theory on his own movie.
Well, it's fun. It's interesting you say that because do you read the part where Richard Brody said he quotes Godard? I guess this was a French interview because I was trying so hard to find it, but like it was impossible. Yeah. Because I'm pretty sure Richard Brody reads French, so he's like that's probably why he has all these great quotes and stuff. Yeah. But he said Godard said his scenario set out a 4-part quasi-phenomenological analysis of the subject, and you know you kind of know what phenomenology is now, right?
Like the study of meaning or
phenomenons, I guess. It's like the study of things, like in a way, like it sounds dumb if you just say it like that, but it's basically a philosophical school in a way that became popular around this time and a little earlier. Yeah. But he says the 4 parts are objective description. Objects and subjects, subjective description of people and things, and then he says such as decor seen from the inside, where the world is outside. And then he says the third thing is a search for structures revealing laws that must be discovered and applied in order to live in a society. A society which Godard adds is too much inclined towards into consumption. Okay. And then the 4th part he says is what he calls life, or what the philosopher Merleau-Ponty called the singular existence of a person. An event, that of Juliet in particular. Okay. So he basically is saying those are like the 4 kind of things he's trying to do in the film. Like, and I kind of mentioned those because you can kind of see. I've seen this movie like 5 times now, so you can kind of see all those parts in the movie. But I mentioned that because it's like, this is like normally you would have a narrative and you're trying to add those elements in it. But like this movie's almost the opposite, where these are like the things he's doing first. Yeah. And then he's like trying to get it like just. There's a narrative.
Like the idea, like it's more like the ideas are first, and then like the images are second in a way. Or not. I'm maybe saying that like in terms of sequential order.
Yes.
Like how he's like coming like.
Especially that explains like certain just like all the just like random close-up shots of pop art and just like
that's the thing
flowers
with Godard is like merging that with the images. Like he's so good at doing that. Like he can't take one from the other.
You can't.
Like the words might come first to him, but he's like the way that he pairs those words with the images is just like...
That's why I'm like, you don't have to read... Like, there's no way... It's kind of like a Chris Marker movie. There's no way you can get all the words in one viewing.
Yeah.
Especially, no.
I tried.
But it's because it's like, just like, even if you just catch random phrases, like, Godard's such a good poet, like, random words will stick out while, like, a certain, montage of images is going through, and
he does it. I mean, it feels like he's trolling you at a point, because he's just, like, giving you a stream of words, almost like a stream of conscience.
Yeah.
But it's like... the images he's putting in front of you makes you like draws you to like watching them instead of the words, and it's just like it feels like he's trolling you in that sense. Like you can't really even pay attention because you're so, especially in like something like La Chinoise, you're just like so drawn into like the images that he's putting on screen that all the words happening in the background and like everything he's doing in the background just like.
Well, that's what makes it. That's like what makes it so good to rewatch too, though. Like you can like catch more of that.
No, this was my second watch of La Chinoise. It definitely did help it.
Yeah. But...
I think that's... I mean, he even says this in, like, one of the best, like, kind of long spiels he has in 2 or 3 things of... his mission is basically writer and painter.
Yeah.
So you can kind of watch either his movies as either one if you want. And that's why, like, he's so fun to rewatch.
Well, and there's this awesome... I think there's this awesome quote in La Chinoise, maybe? It's one of these two, where they're talking about the painting and, like... you have to see where the person's looking and they're talking about the object, and like you see where the person's looking, you see the object they're looking at, and then you see the light and where the light is in reflection to the object, and that's like how you can see this type.
That's
of
when she's turning
painting.
the lamp on.
I can't remember exactly. I think maybe,
that's in 2 or 3 things.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Yes.
Well,
yeah.
one of those,
When it's like right before they put on the.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, like that's basically what Godard's doing is like drawing your eyes to some point in the screen that you wouldn't normally have them drawn to. It feels like. But,
Yeah.
What about you?
This is like
2 or 3 things.
Oh, no, I mean, I kind of already said it, but like, yeah, like I do love this movie a lot.
Yeah.
It's definitely a lot to take in, especially taking notes on it. Like, it's definitely a movie like, as you said, you're not gonna get it all, but like, there's just a lot of like little interesting things you can take from it each time. It's just a great movie to come back to. I feel like, but isn't this like what your favorite? Like is your favorite Godard right now? Might be.
I'll have to tear him later.
Oh, okay, yeah. So basically, you're not gonna tell us basically what's your favorite.
What do you mean? There can be more than one favorite. That's where the myth. Why does there only have to be one favorite? Answer me that question.
It just has to be, you know.
Based on what?
The tearing of.
So you can't answer that question until you can give me a good answer for that.
Okay.
Tears is obviously a better.
Nothing
answer.
will be good for you. Nothing will be good for
Well,
you.
tearing is obviously better because if there's more than one, like A, like imagine if your teacher's like, we can only give one A in the class.
Okay, that's not.
That's basically what you're doing for like certain directors. What, by saying they can only have one great movie?
No, that's
Or
not
one
what I'm saying at all.
favorite
That's
movie,
not
one
what I'm saying. Well, just like, you know, the
What
hierarchy.
about parents?
Hierarchy
Do parents have to have a favorite kid?
they do.
No, they don't.
They do.
No, they don't. That's the whole point. No.
They do have a favorite kid.
No, some do, but you don't have to. That's the whole point. You can have multiple
must.
favorites.
Okay. Anyway.
That makes sense too. Damn, I'm cooking here.
No, he's not.
Okay, where's your defense? Where's your defense?
Let's
see,
get into the movie,
the
guys.
tier argument falls apart whenever you like bring up to him like he rates Pickpocket 5 stars, but it's in his A tier for Song somehow.
Wait, no, it's in my S tier. Check my notes.
Check the tape
Wait, hold on, where? Oh,
on the podcast.
I'll have to listen to it.
Because I distinctly remember saying that my top 3 were in your A tier of Versailles, not your S tier.
Damn.
And it was
Pickpocket, I move it back up though. To S
I
tier.
moved it back.
Oh, okay, yeah. You can't do that.
Post podcast maneuvering.
Okay, I don't know.
Yeah,
should we start the movie?
Yeah, we start the movie. So this movie's actually a lot more structured though than I remember it being, because it has like the header. It is kind of like Vivre sa vie also in the way that like he has the headers, like the intertitles separating it. Like he titles each section something.
But they kind of don't make sense.
Yeah, that too.
Well,
Yeah, they definitely don't make.
You said they were structured, and then they're like, wait.
It's like structured, but like it's like.
Once you just get the idea of it, just like it's almost like Godard's. I don't know. He's trying to make a different type of movie about like almost everyday life. He's kind of even talked about this about Pierre LeFou.
No,
He's
yeah.
even mentioned this in a lot.
Like
of
it's just his
movies,
to me. I see it as like his observations on modern day life.
Yes, but it's literally about just her day.
Yeah. But the
Wait, we should have mentioned though. Richard Brody said how the reason they came with this idea for the movie was, like apparently Godard was trying to marry Maria Valenti for a while, which is kind of funny. But and she rejected his proposal and stuff. But like while they were maybe a thing or not, I guess she said they were always platonic. But I guess Godard doesn't say that. I don't know. That's what Brody implies. They apparently got the idea for this movie from an article from an anonymous reader that sent it to I forgot what newspaper they were reading, titled "An Atrocious Document About a Single Mother." Quote, about a single mother nearing 40, an educated but underpaid office worker who had begun to pick up male clients from a luxurious cafe. He used the money to pay. He used the money to pay for twice weekly visits to the hairdresser, to buy fine clothing, and to purchase her apartment. And so they basically read this article, and Godard. They already had an idea for a different movie, and I forgot what the idea was, but then they just scrapped it. He's like, let's just do this instead.
Yeah.
And that's basically what came of this.
Yeah.
Because like basically the idea of like, how does Son of Man end up doing this?
Yeah, like how do you get this finance in a way?
No, like like her life. Like how does her life come to this? Like she already is an office worker.
Okay.
And it's like it's almost so casual. You kind of like if you think about it, it's like her husband's kind of a. I guess scumbag's not the wrong word, but it is in a way because like Like
He's
the way Godard does it is like he uses a different person. It's like a girl we don't even see the rest of the time. It's almost like a random like documentary type of footage.
Yeah.
And he's explaining what Marina Vladdy's life is. About how like they got married. She was a streetwalker, I guess. She got married.
It sets him up. It sets him up as a great guy, only to like knock him
yeah,
down.
and then
Like
the
a
second
second
story,
later.
He met her and married her. They like went to this like moved into like luxury apartment, but then 3
They
kids
couldn't
later,
afford it,
and then
yes.
he asked her to go streetwalking.
Yes,
again,
exactly. And that's where and that's basically where this kind of, that's why I was mentioning this story, because it's based on a true story, I guess, in a way. And like, this was not the only time, this is not the only woman doing this. But basically this idea of almost like prostitution on the side for money.
There's a thing about that
like
in Chinoise, La Chinoise too. So.
And I mean, all I'll say is it's still relevant today, basically. Because
I mean, yeah,
it's even more relevant in a way. But like, basically, this idea of consumerism, like what drives people to do this?
Yeah,
you know, like where people that need more money actually they'll still end up doing this. Because that to me, that's one of my favorite parts of the movie is like these just random shots of construction throughout the movie.
Yes, yeah.
You know, because it's like. To me, it's
and they're like long too.
It's like one of the states of just like modern society. To me, is just like
constant construction.
like that's what progress is.
Yeah.
There has to be something construction. You know, like all my years of college, there's always something. There was always something that had to be constructed, right? Or
the interstate around where I live has literally.
Ever since it
literally is like always under construction.
Exactly.
Who knows?
But it's like this idea, like if you're not constructing something, it's literally not progress in the modern sense.
Yeah.
You know. But it's like one of my but that's like an idea of just like consumerism in general. You know, this idea of you always have to like be progressing, advancing in some way.
Yeah.
But another aspect of that is like you have to create desires in like, I guess you could say human subjects, and I guess that's what Godard's really focusing on. You know, it's like, like to me, he doesn't have hate for her or anything, but he does like, in a way, like is almost like. Having pity for her, like why is she doing all this? You know, she's doing this just for like to buy products and stuff, to go to the store,
just like
to get her hair done.
Okay, yeah.
You know, but just like I think it's a movie that's still true today. Even all the comic book aspects, you know, like Godard is almost like it's almost like we live way more in comic book society now than we did back then in a way. Like people want to live in a comic book world now. What's the difference? I don't know, just so many little stuff, I guess, like you were saying throughout the movie too. Like
it's like there's a lot. There's something for like a lot of people like take interest in. Like it's not just like solely focused on one thing.
Yeah, that's why it's
gonna be
interesting to talk about because it's like
because
both of these movies, it's almost just moments.
No, literally,
like what are our favorite moments?
We'll probably like I have a general through line.
Okay.
There's some stuff that you probably wrote down in like.
And she does go through her day.
Yeah.
Throughout the movie, we can always come back to. There's like certain events throughout her day.
Because the first like I guess section you could say of the movie is the Paris region.
Okay.
Which was when we're introduced to her on like the balcony, and we get like the. I think she says, or yes, speak as quoting the truth. Old man Breck said it. The actor should quote, or maybe that was I don't know if that was the narrator or her. But this is when the narrator's like when Godard's saying like now she turns her head to the right and then like but that means nothing and he's like describing her and then he goes like now she turns her head to the left but that means nothing, like and just like literally as I was saying like deconstructing his own movie in a way.
And that mention of Brecht too is interesting because like we mentioned before already about talking about Godard. I just don't know much about him, but apparently he was very famous for like kind of deconstructing.
Yes. He's mentioned in both these movies, actually, too.
In the same way of, like, using fourth wall breaking methods and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know that well, but the only reason I mentioned that, too, is because it's also important in La Chinoise, where, like, Richard Brody points out that, and we'll talk about it, too, when that scene comes up, but like, he has all, like, the famous people.
Yes.
The only person left is Brecht at the end.
Really? Okay, yeah.
So, that's kind of like Godard's whole, like...
yeah.
He's extremely important to him, but I just don't know that much about him yet.
Yeah. I think then he talks about centralization for a little bit, or something. He's talking about something.
Yeah, it's just more like I think the narrator.
Okay, yeah, the narrator talks about it.
Yeah.
I don't know if you wrote anything down.
Not for that one.
But
and then she goes home.
And
her husband's like listening.
Well, no, we get the next 18 lessons on industrial society.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I didn't actually count. I didn't actually count out. There's actually 18.
No, that's what I'm like. I don't actually know. Like.
But yeah, we see. I guess her husband is like. he's like a radio operator, like some
I
type
don't
of.
know, works in a garage.
He works in a
Or
garage.
no,
And this is like what he does for fun.
Who are the
like,
two guys doing the radio? Then?
That's her husband.
Oh, that's what he does for fun. Though.
Yeah,
okay.
something like that.
Or it's like a side thing,
yeah.
maybe.
Like
Okay,
they're
it's not really.
They're really interested in the war for some reason.
Yeah. Because they're like saying orders, aren't they? Or maybe they're repeating what they're hearing. I don't know. It's not really clear.
To me, he's just like, I think he's trying to make the point, like, because she comes in and she's like looking at a magazine.
She's like reading like the advertisements.
She's
like she wants the pantyhose, some like panty
yeah.
like hose, like.
But he's kind of saying like this is the word, like these are the same play. I don't know. He's trying to show the dynamic, like.
Yeah. Like these people are like together in a way.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, war is also a type of consumerism, so.
Exactly. I think that's what he's trying to say, at least for him, for this guy,
yeah.
who works in a garage. Like that's how he's treating the war, basically, the same way she treats like a magazine, maybe.
Like he's treating it like sport in a way.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
okay,
yeah, honestly, like Twitter. Like,
I mean, or just literally like consumer, like a consumer. Like if you're in the stock market or anything, if there's a war going on,
oh, that's
you buy
true.
shit like that. Like
see,
it goes up and up and up.
Yeah, there you go. No, honestly, yeah.
It's like war is a consumer.
See, I saw it more as like he's
a
seen it as like the
consumer-based
sports, like how people view it on Twitter, like when they're like watching
yes.
polling and stuff like that. You know, it's just like that's like they do in their free,
That
that's their
too.
free time. Like
Yes.
it's, they don't actually. Yeah,
Because
it's like
they're literally repeating everything that
yes,
happens
exactly.
to each other.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I think she does the dishes, and she also has this is while she's doing dishes, she's like talking to the camera again.
Yes.
She's like saying like I think she's just like saying like yeah I'm doing the dishes, and like then like, she's talking about like how she almost like cried before or whatever.
Yeah.
He has a shot around here of I think it's like a picture of like flowers or something, and he's like it's like in the grass. It's just like zooming out. He just cuts to random things at certain points with both these movies.
That's where I was saying that was one thing, objective description of objects and subjects.
Okay, yeah.
And then subjective descriptions of people and things, such as, and this kind of what you said is decor seen from the inside, where the world is outside, which is kind of interesting.
Okay.
But that's why I'm like, there's some of these like close-ups where I'm thinking that's what he's like trying to do anyway.
Let's see that. And then we get her talking to her son, I think, in the next part. Because she's saying how she, like, when she dreams now, like, it's no longer, like, she's falling... I think she said, like, she's... okay, you have the whole thing written down? Okay.
She says, this story is, like, if this was your first Godard, and you're, like, expecting her, like, if you're expecting a real conversation with her son...
Yeah.
And her son starts talking about, like, Vietnam.
He's, like, young Godard.
Yeah. He's like,
sort of like Godard Jr.
Yeah, you probably just like never come back to it.
Yeah. Oh my god, it's so funny.
Like this is not a realistic conversation. She's like, son, when I used to dream. That's why I was like, but she says when I used to dream, it was like being sucked into a great big hole, disappearing down a big hole. Now when I dream, it's like being scattered in 1,000 pieces. Before, when I'd wake up, even if it took a while, I'd wake up all at once. Now I'm afraid of missing pieces.
Yeah, and then her son says like he had a dream last night of like. He was like walking alone at the edge of a cliff when he saw two twins appear, walk towards him, but then like they walked into each other, and he's like, then I woke up and I realized that the two twins were North and South Vietnam reunited. And you're like, wait, well, I remember like the whole time. I remember when I first watched this, I was like watching it like, okay, wait, what? Like it's like Godard comes out.
This song,
like,
it's
like
he comes back later.
When he comes back, yeah, I know what you're talking. Yeah, that's so funny. And then immediately, he asks, "What's language?"
Yeah. And then, you gotta tell a kid if they ask you something like that. You gotta give them like a philosophical answer like this. Okay. Mommy, what's language? Language is the housemaid. Listen.
Yeah. Oh my god. So good. But then I think we get the next title, which is New Lessons on Industrial Society, which is so funny because that comes after 18 lessons.
Yeah.
It's like
just like more lessons.
Yeah. But I think this is when we see the girl in the bath. Which this seems
like a quick gag. Like
yeah, it's pretty funny. Like I guess removed, it's funny. Obviously, it's weird for her. The power company guy walking in while she's taking a bath to like be like, oh, I gotta check the meter. And him saying like, and she's like mad at him. And he's like, yeah, it's like $6,000. It's gonna be like $6,000 or something, and just like walks out. But then we get some more voiceover. The mere fact of suddenly enjoying a new appliance spurs power consumption without regard for the bill. It's the same old story. Either no money for rent or no TV, or else a TV but no car, or else a washer but no vacation. In other words, in any case, no normal life. Which is really interesting. Like
No, I think it's really like that's why I'm like. I feel like people even today can relate to that feeling a lot. You know, like that's what consumerism is supposed to do. Is like creates desire to where you don't feel like you have enough.
Yeah.
Right. Like.
I
think that's kind of what he's saying. Like that's what's spurring her in a lot of her decisions. You know, this kind of desire that's created by modern society.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's he also says like it's the same old story. I think he says that later on too.
Yes.
About her like kind of origin, like how she ended up doing this too. Because I think that's kind of what he's trying to say. It's like he's telling her story, but he's also telling the story of like how society can create someone like her in a way too.
No,
society does in a way.
No, for sure. I think she drops her kids off. This is okay. Yeah, I think this is when she drops her kids off at the thing. I think it's like a daycare or something.
It's like a daycare for a brothel, basically.
Yeah. It's like it's a Bruno Warner. It's a one-shot take.
Yes. Oh, well, yes.
Yeah, yes. I love like drops her off.
Slowly pans.
Slowly, like the kid's crying, like his mom was there.
Let me come read to you guys.
Yeah. And then it's like the camera slowly pans out the window and you see her street walking. Yeah, it's like
crazy.
It's a crazy one. Yeah.
That's where it's like it's done so nonchalantly too. Like everything is filmed like everything's the same. But it's the same old story. You know, this happens every day kind of thing.
It's a similar shot to that one. I'm kind of see why I'm thinking of you. I thought of Yuba Savi during this movie. There's a similar shot in Yuba Savi too. It's very similar one take when she's in the record store, and you kind of follow her a little bit, and then it just like pans the same direction out to the window, and then like hangs out the window for a bit.
I know exactly.
Literally like
about,
almost like like super similar shots.
Yeah, I know the shot you're talking about. See, that's one like you could say different too, because that one's way more romantic.
Yes, exactly. Well, yeah, it's just
and this one is like
it's not
opposite of romantic.
Sure.
Like it's like
it feels like a revised in a way maybe.
Yeah, but that same idea, like just hanging on a window, like
exactly.
Basically, like a non-narrative shot. I guess this one has. It's at least telling us something. Like it always at least making a point in a way. Like
it's a
with
clear
the single
idea.
shot. Yeah, the single take, like you said. It's just more sad than anything. Like
it definitely it's brutal. Yeah,
it is brutal. I guess.
And then I think who's the person?
She goes to the shop too next.
Okay, and this is when the guy tells her this. I think this is the guy when someone tells the story about the prostitute that falls in love. That's the next thing I have in my notes. So.
Maybe that's the next thing I didn't write down.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right.
But was this Godard narrating, or was it the guy in the? I don't know.
I think it's Godard.
Is it Godard? Okay. But this is what we're saying.
Where he says like the husband himself asked his wife to walk the streets.
Yeah.
But see, it's kind of confusing if you don't see, because it's not her that he's showing in this montage. It's like a random woman.
A random woman, yes.
That's kind of up to that point where it's like the same old story.
No, there's he gets a different woman throughout the whole thing. Yeah. Like, but yeah, I think then.
This is where it's like we just watched a movie where he has like a montage of like a prostitution. Right, when we were comparing to Pickpocket.
Oh yeah, Viva City.
Oh, that's in Viva City too. Yeah, damn, yeah. It's got some of those vibes with the montage of like.
No, I can definitely see that. Yeah.
Damn, honestly, yeah. That movie is connected to this one.
Yeah, and I think around this is when she says. I think this is her saying it. The city's creative and formative role will be taken over by other systems of communication. Maybe television, radio, vocabulary, and syntax, knowingly and intentionally. But then I think the next title is Psychology of Form. And then, which is when she's like trying on clothes. Yeah. And then,
and this is where it's kind of like a brief scene where like she's like, I don't have the money now, I'll have to come back and get it.
Yeah. Like she's like, but then, we kind of get this instance of like Godard like kind of like going in and out, like out and back into like the narrative mode here when she's like, I'll be back before 6, but then she like turns to the camera and then like tells us kind of like what her like interior feelings are, because she says she's like this long quote, I'll be back before 6, and then she turns to the camera, because my impressions don't always relate to a specific object. For instance, desire. Sometimes we know the object of our desire, sometimes we don't. Say I feel I'm missing something, but I don't know what, or I feel afraid even if there's nothing to frighten me. What expression does not refer to a specific object? Oh yes, order, logic. Yes, for instance, something can make me cry, but the cause of my tears can't be found in the traces they leave on my cheeks. By this, I mean you can describe everything that happens when I do something, without necessarily indicating what makes me do what I do, and then she turns back to the girl and says, "I'll be back at 6," and then leaves. Just like she just like kind of explains like. It's just Godard kind of explaining, like...
Well, to me, it's explaining almost by a way saying she can't explain it.
I guess, yeah.
But she's, like... I think that's why it's the movie's kind of about consumerism in a way, too. It's like... There's no direct reason why someone just goes and buys a dress, even if they don't have the money for it.
Yeah.
You know, there's no, like... It's not, like, just direct cause and effect. But there is, like, a... I don't know. It's, like, more like a habit, I guess, in a way.
There's psychology behind
it. He says psychology of form, I guess.
Yeah,
like, there's something about the dress that makes you
marketing is built around psychology. So.
No, yeah.
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
There's
How to market effectively to people.
Dude, I was just watching a clip about, with Godard on the Dick Cavett show.
Okay,
where,
I've seen that.
Well, there's a few clips. I don't know which one.
I've seen the interview. The whole thing.
The whole thing? Okay. Where he's talking about how he says art and business has always been connected, and he's like, he said he went to go visit the Paramount exec's house. And he's like, all the houses, the Renoirs, and paintings. And basically, like, making that point, like, art and business has always been connected in a way.
Yeah.
Like, the two are always together, right? And that's kind of what marketing is in a way. Like, you're trying to, in a negative way, is use art's principles to kind of draw people in, right? Like,
it's what you said before also. It's the art of making someone unaware that they want something, basically.
Yes.
So unaware that they arrive at the store and they just buy it without even wanting to. So just on the urge or impulse, even though it's not really an urge or an impulse.
Which has become even scarier because now like companies can like track like what you're like. Looking at like.
This is why like impulse buying is a thing in general, but it's not a real thing whenever you think about it. With how much just marketing is all around us. Like, an impulse is still there, but it's so much stronger now just because of how, like, just the amount of, like, marketing and advertisements we see around us, so... Yeah. This situation's only gotten worse as day, and you've been saying this entire time, so...
Honestly.
Like, there's that quote earlier you kind of mentioned about where she mentions, like, the roles of communication in the future in the city.
Yeah.
And she mentioned television, radio. But, like, think about it now, it's just, like, phones, social media. It's, like, just more kind of... information driven like that, but like all those like a lot of social media platforms are ad based too, you know.
Yes, definitely.
Like it's crazy how much ads and
like a lot of them are like good at like you honestly don't even notice them a lot of the time.
Exactly.
Like, but like I guess like subconsciously you definitely like.
Well, and sometimes you end up watching an ad and you're like, and this is how you know whenever you're watching like a good commercial because you're like, damn, that's actually like, I actually kind of want to buy that now.
No, they're good.
I wonder if that's how people like go from commercials to movies. If like a director or if like an executive like watches a commercial, says I want to buy that, and they go like, who directed that?
Wait, from going from commercials to movies? Yeah. I mean, there are some directors that have done that.
There are some of them.
I don't know.
Everyone has to start somewhere.
Depends on the type of movie I guess they're trying to make.
Yeah.
Now a lot of commercials feel the same too. But I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah,
they've lost the art.
Yeah, they've gone really bad.
Now they just know that the overabundance of everything is gonna make us buy things anyway, so they stop selling.
But I think that
we don't get any like ad shows like we do in that. What was Altman's last movie? Prairie Home Companion.
Prairie Home Companion. Yeah.
Those live ads.
That's real. That's real. That's real right there. Oh my god. Unbelievable. What a movie. Anyway, the next kind of like narration is Godard when he's it's kind of him like saying like in a way it's like him talking about like what he's doing at the moment because it's the narration where he's like I studied the projects and their inhabitants and the bonds between them as intensely as the biologist studies the relationship between the individual and race and evolution. Only then can I tackle problems of sociopathology, nurturing hope for truly new projects. But he's kind of like saying why he's like what he's doing really at this moment. I feel like at least like stating his like purpose for doing this. But then we get the cafe scene, which she walks in first off. Great line, me in a word, indifference, which kind of really well explains like what's going like the relationship with consumerism she has. But then we get the girl at the bar like introduce herself to the camera, but then we get basically this is also first of all this is also I think this might be the same cafe as the opening Cine Vivre Sa Vie. The pinball machine is in a very similar spot. Also, it just like, granted, I don't know if like Paris cafes look similar, but it just looks similar to it too. Like, yeah, has the same.
It might be, except for this one's color now.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah, it would. That's like the main difference for sure.
You have to go back. I'd have to go back.
But then we get the coffee shop scene where, I guess she's. I don't know how to, like, it's like she's sitting there. There's a guy smoking, and basically this guy. I guess there's not really anything like narratively that's happening here. It's just like, well, Godard's narrating, and he first saw it says maybe an object is what serves as a link between subjects, allowing us to live in a society to be together. But then he has this. Well, he's shooting the cafe worker, like pouring the cup of coffee.
Yeah, and her just looking around. Too.
Looking around.
These like sounds, the loud sounds.
The sounds, yes.
He's cutting in and out too, like silent of him whispering, and all of a sudden it'll be loud sounds of her
Yes.
watching, and then back to the coffee shot.
Yeah.
It's like amazing. He cuts back and forth from coffee to like her looking.
And the quote he says like is really good too.
Yeah, it's like really long. I don't want to read all of it.
Since social relations, I have like I don't think I have all of it. I think I have
read
most
read
of
the
it.
parts that you have.
Since social relations are always ambiguous, since my thoughts divide as much as unite, and my words unite by what they express and isolate by what they emit, since a wide gulf separates my subjective certainty of myself from the objective truth from others have of me, since I constantly end up guilty, even though I feel innocent, since every event changes my daily life, since I always fail to communicate, to understand, to love and be loved, and every failure deepens my solitude, since I cannot escape the objectivity crushing me, nor the subjectivity expelling me, since I cannot rise to a state of being nor collapse into nothingness, I have to listen more than ever. I have to look around me at the world, my fellow creature, my brother. No, the since I cannot escape the objectivity crushing me nor the subjectivity expelling me is like fire.
And then it cuts out. He watches it. She watches again, and then it cuts back into the coffee shot again.
Yes.
And, like every time he cuts back in, the bubbles change.
Yeah,
it's getting closer and closer to it. Yeah. No, but he's basically talking about like how he sees himself, basically.
Like, yeah, like you. Do you think it's like
There's this. Let me read this one part too.
He's saying he. This is why he's like having to like.
He's trying to say what his mission is. That's what,
yeah. Like why he's like specifically like interested in investigating like real life. I feel like like not wanting to like live in like a bubble or whatever.
No, but I love this part too, where he says, "Where do we start? But start what? God created heaven and earth, sure, but that's too easy. We should put it better. Say that the limits of language are the world's limits, that the limits of my language are the world's limits, and that when I speak, I limit the world. I finish it. And one inevitable and mysterious day, death will come and abolish these limits, and there will be no questions nor answers. It will all be a blur. But if by chance things... And then this is where the music starts.
Yeah. Okay.
Right there. And it goes, and he says, but if by chance things come into focus again. And then the bubbles come into focus.
Okay, damn, yeah.
And then he says, it may only be with the advent of conscience. Everything will fall from there. And then the music's playing. And then she's walking again. Okay. And then she says, I don't know where, if when, only that it happened. I've tried to recapture that feeling all day. There was the smell of trees. I was the world was me. And like the music is playing. Okay, just like, oh my god. It's insane.
His form is crazy. It's insane, unbelievable.
No, I watched this shortly after Godard died. I think this is the first Godard movie I watched after he died, and that's the quote I had in my review actually. Damn, was that quote right there, because it just reminded like, oh god, like after someone dies, if you hear that quote that they had, like, it just makes you think, makes you feel. But it's also just a very Buddhist quote, because it's just like, I mean, he's not like Buddhist, I'm assuming, but he obviously is like, he enjoys philosophy and studying religion at the very least.
And just like this idea of language being like your world, but also the limit of your world at the same time.
Yes.
No, yeah, and then just just so good, dude. You gotta watch the movie just for the scene.
Oh, that's unbelievable.
It's why he's a filmmaker and not an author.
Yes.
Because he has these words, but then he uses the images to make it
the concept, just like this rant, like it's like every day. And just like now I've seen History to Cinema and stuff, and the Image book. I guess some of his later ones too.
Yeah.
It just like it fits so much well for like the future Godard.
Oh, definitely.
You know, this quote.
But I think, is there anything else that, because she takes a guy to her place next, doesn't he? Is that the next scene? I think.
Yes.
She takes a guy back. And it's like it's introduction to ethnology. What's ethnology? Like, is it like
ethnology?
Is that one?
No, I looked it up earlier. I can't remember it.
Study of characteristics of various people and the differences and relationships between them.
Okay.
Characteristics of people.
Because then,
Psychology.
because I guess they just kind of have this.
That's why I'm like, I wonder why he says that about this. Basically,
Because this is when she's like talking about how she's like not ashamed of like prostituting. Like
yeah.
like she describes it as like it's just an organ going between like my body.
Yeah,
Basically,
yeah.
like that's all it is.
But she's talking about him too, like how she might dump him because he doesn't want to social climb. He's like happy where he is. It's kind of such idea like Godard is trying to get to like the inner life of a person in a way, you know. So like the way he's going in and out of, she's actually talking to him, then all of a sudden she'll talk to the camera about like what she's actually thinking.
Because this is the no, actually no, that's Godard. Because because I think Godard says it's during I think it's either during the scene or right after where he says, "What is art? That by which form becomes style." Someone said, "Well, the style is the man. So art is what gives humanity to forms."
Damn.
Yeah.
I think he uses that same quote in Histories of Cinema too.
Does he actually? Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, that makes sense. But then I think we're next in like a hair salon, and then we get the girl that's like saying like she loves studying people. Like
that's one of my favorite parts of the movie. It's like pink. It's all pink.
Yeah, or something like that.
Yeah,
and then like she's like I watch 2-3 movies a day just to study people. Like
yeah. No, this is where like it's like she's like this is like even her. I don't even know if this is a real like he actually interviewed someone or not.
Yeah.
No, but it's like where this feels like the most Godard-esque in a way too, where she's just naming random things she likes too.
Yeah.
Because there's also a funny thing where she's like, I go to movies two or three times a month, but not in the summer. Because like apparently for a long time, like summer movies were like the bad movies.
Damn, that's crazy.
Especially in the 60s and 70s and stuff. But and then until like Jaws basically.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
And after that, it was like a summer blockbusters became more of a thing.
Ruined movies forever. No, I'm just kidding.
According to Godard. Like I said. No, but I love how she's written like because it kind of reminded me of in that Dick Cavett interview. You can just look it up on YouTube. Dick Cavett and Godard.
Yeah.
There's like a part where Dick Cavett's like, "How would you film this?" Because he actually mentions that Velasquez quote from Pierre LeFou. He's like, I saw you have this quote, and it was like it kind of interested me about like what it means like the film, the space between objects or whatever. He's like, okay, so what would that mean to film me and you having this conversation right now? And he's like, well, I would film the faces of the people watching, or something like that. And then he's like, what about the stuff behind us too? And he's like, well, the stuff behind us is kind of ugly. So, but like that when he says like the faces, I was like, I actually thought about this scene too because it's like almost just so random, except for the fact that he's just like filming out the faces in this place. That's just that.
It's the hair
yes, exactly. Yeah. So it just because like what he found interesting.
Yeah.
Especially her interviews, like it just fits the movie perfectly too. Like the way she's speaking too.
Yeah.
She's almost like acting. You know, she's like trying to act.
Yeah. But I think, because I think we next go to the place where her husband works, like the auto shop, I guess. Right? Okay. Because this one he's like talking about like the image. What was like one giant comic book strip? Yeah, like the images and language. Yes. Like there is increasing interaction between images and language. You might say that living in modern society is virtually like living in a giant comic strip. Still, language in itself cannot accurately define the image. For instance, how do you describe an event? How do you say or depict that at 4:10 that afternoon, Juliet and Marianne came to a garage where Juliet's husband works? And he says, like, am I speaking too loud? Am I too close or too far? Like, that's really interesting.
But this scene is so, like, even just us doing this podcast and you reading that, it does nothing to actually describe what this scene is actually shot like and like the sounds that are going on too. It's like crazy, like all the colors. Like he shoots the garage like it's a comic book strip. Literally, yeah. And he does have some intercuts, I think, with actual comic book strips. Yeah, both these movies he does. But like no, during the specific scene where they're at the garage where she's visiting. But it's like so casual, but like the way he's filming it is like almost so exciting. No. But yeah, it's just interesting, like literally talking about like the relation between the camera, like the format and the content, literally while doing. To me, he's making an argument for cinema. Like why cinema over just the screenplay, you know? But it's just so fascinating. He's doing that in real time with his own movie. Yes, exactly. Yeah. And then I think he also says, "Why all these signs that make me distrust language and submerge me in meanings, drowning reality, not freeing it of the imaginary." Damn, it's a great quote. Also, because in Histories of Cinema, the last episode, he has a quote that says, quote, "It's what I like in cinema, a saturation of magnificent signs bathing in the light of their absence of explanation."
Damn.
So basically like the opposite of what he said. Like, basically like, this is maybe a thing you could say, marketing, every sign or every kind of image, it has a meaning, right? It's supposed to, it's telling you something, right? To buy this product because it's the best,
Consume.
or something. Yeah,
Sex.
consume. Yes, like it's
Oh,
creating desire.
I'm talking about.
Okay, yes, but honestly, it
No,
goes to, honestly, yeah. Honestly, this that kind of relates to this movie.
It relates to
ways,
this movie a lot, actually. But.
It breaks the fourth wall in its own ways. It's Carpenter ways, but Godard's saying like what his kind of cinema is, and why I always sort of bring up the like Monty Call's idea of presentation versus representation. Yeah, is like that second quote I read from Histories is like Godard saying that's what cinema is the opposite, is a saturation of magnificent signs. So like Godard has all these kind of, he uses signs from marketing and stuff, like everyday life, but like he says, the second part, absence of explanation, that's the important part, you know. Where like marketing, you when you market something, that's all, you want it to be explained, you know. A sign has specific meaning, you know, or it's trying to anyway. Like that's kind of Godard's whole point, is like an image cannot have a specific meaning even when you try to. It always goes in different directions and like you know, creates new meanings. But like that's why I kind of love that quote, and it made me think of the Histories quote, because it's like Godard always has this topic on, even from like basically when he started making movies, you know. It's always been on his head until the very end. Even though Histories is only like the 80s, but
or it's 90s.
Oh, is it
80s?
I think late 80s.
It's like
90s.
late 80s,
yeah,
and then 90s,
like
I think. Yeah.
It's been on.
But the Image book, like he has a movie called The Image
on his
book.
mind till the very end.
It's very last. But I think he has the quote where he's like, "All I'm doing is looking for reasons to live happily, and if I now take this inquiry further, I find there's simply a reason to live. First, because there are memories. Then there's the present and the ability to stop and savor it. Meaning, we have seized a reason to live as it goes by and held on to it for a few seconds. After its discovery amid the unique circumstances surrounding it, the birth of the simplest things in the human world, man's possession of them with his mind, a new world where men and things can live in harmony, such is my aim. It's as political as it is poetic. It explains, in any case, this longing for expression. Whose? Mine. Writer and painter." But then, like, it's also interesting because, like, right after this, I think he says he says like the brief thing where he's like should read like the leaves on the tree. And he's like, should I describe Juliet or the foliage?
Yes.
Like, it's just kind of.
No, that was actually before this.
Was that before?
That was right after the others one, where he talks about modern societies like living in a comic book.
No, he says it twice actually. He says it twice.
He does. Okay,
okay, yeah.
No, but that's why I think he might mention Brecht too or something. But,
I think he might.
No, damn.
No,
I just love that quote.
Like,
honestly, it just stands on its own.
No, mine, writer and painter.
Yeah, that's what I was. Yeah, I mentioned that earlier.
So good.
Where he says also, because we'll talk about this more with La Chinoise, but basically Goran kind of mentions how they were kind of talking about how their idea is like, how can we make, like he says, how can we make a movie that's political and poetic at the same time?
Yes.
That was like what his goal, especially at this time.
Yeah.
So yeah, this quote. That's why like both these movies kind of relate in that way too.
Yeah.
And then like right after this is that like shot of the keychain in close up.
Okay, oh, it's so good. It's one of my favorite shots.
Honestly, this is where I'm like, if you want to make an argument for like for film itself, like what it can do that no other art can do, is like for little moments like this.
Exactly.
Like where he's like, in this image, 3 cultures meet: the culture of leisure, the culture of the keychain, and the culture of sex. And then it like shows the keychain, and then it shows the keychain like I think it's
you just pull something on the bottom and it like pulls the little.
Okay,
thing
that's what
and
it's doing. Yeah, but he's just showing that in close up, like this idea of like, that's kind of what I was saying when Godard says like there's like 4 parts of the movie. Yeah. In a way, where he's like showing like just in everyday reality, there's all this stuff going on always. You know, even this like keychain has 3 parts of like things you could analyze if you wanted to in a way. Yeah. And the next sentence is like. If by chance, if you can't afford LSD, then buy a color TV. Like, goddamn, that's even like so much more true now, right?
Oh my God.
Yeah. Like, I wonder if there's like a different planet where like everyone does LSD, but it's weird if you have a TV.
Yeah, I mean,
that's now like we live in the opposite one, you know.
That's kind of like, I mean, that's kind of, it's like the Phantom Liberty Boomwell scene.
Yeah, but he's kind of making a point there, like it's like trying to get out. People use TV to get out of your own reality in a way. You know,
it's the same thing.
Yeah.
But it's like for some reason like society looks down on LSD, but it's like fine with TV in a way.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
That's always like a different planet. Maybe it's the other way around.
Damn. But then we get an interesting scene of, I guess her and her, like, I guess she has this friend who's also a prostitute, and then they meet the American guy. Okay, the American guy.
The American.
He's obviously French, but just like it's just so comically
This is
funny.
another example of the American accent.
Yeah. Like has a TV.
Hey,
like,
Arkansas mentioned though.
Okay.
Arkansas. Yeah.
But he has like the American flag T-shirt with like American flags in this place. It's so funny.
This scene also is a lot like Viva La Vie whenever it's like, doesn't he decline her for the younger woman essentially?
Okay, yeah. Damn. Although, wait, doesn't she back out of this one? Or wait, does she get declined? I think. I don't
remember. Maybe she backs out.
I thought that's what it was, but no, it is similar though. I see what you're saying.
Because I know there's one. I thought there was one scene where the other guy was basically like not wanting her and wanting the other girl, but it might have been the scene also where she says no.
Maybe.
I think it was the scene where she says no too.
Was she like? But during the scene, she talks about like how no event exists in itself. It's linked with everything around it. And then like we see where like apparently the guy doesn't want to like look at them while they're having sex, so they have to put bags over their heads.
It's like airlines too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
That's fun. Yeah. And I think he plays some airline sounds to the airplane sounds while they're walking. I don't know for sure. I don't remember. But like when they're walking, like they're supposed to be kind of walking like planes.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah, it's crazy.
It's a weird guy.
Yeah.
It's a weird guy.
Yeah, that's pretty bad. But then I think next scene is when it's when her husband and then that one girl talk, because they're both waiting for someone. Which honestly, this is kind of similar. You could say this is similar to that scene in Viva La Vie when she's talking to the philosopher. Because they're both talking about similar things, like specifically what the role of like talking in language and
and shame.
Yeah, especially where he like at the beginning where both of them, because initially he's trying to like kind of shame her, at least trying to. Where he's like trying to get her to talk about sex, basically.
Yeah, she doesn't want
trying to get her to say what was it?
My sex organs are
between my legs. But she's making good points about not saying it too, because I respect her reasoning for not saying it. Because it's like it's so stupid, it's obvious.
Well, to me, this is where I'm like, this is a great like almost pickup line away, because or she's like, why bother saying something so obvious? I don't know. I don't talk about my eyes or sex organs.
Yes.
And then he's like, you should have lovely eyes and a lovely mouth.
Yes.
And she like smiles briefly too. It's like,
damn. He's the new Riz King.
Yeah, I know.
I mean, Godard's always had great pickup lines in those movies. Or pickup moves in his movies.
No, he does.
We've talked about that in 3 of his movies now. I mean, if you bag Anna Karina and what was this?
Anne Wiesen.
Yeah, Anne Wiesen. You know.
No, wait. No, they're both Anna Karina that we're talking about.
Oh no, I'm just saying if you bag Anna.
Oh, I know you're saying. Okay, I see what you're saying. Yeah, okay, yeah.
You have to sell them that game.
Yeah, good point. And then.
But then it cuts while in the same cafe. It cuts to
the Nobel Peace Prize.
It's not real. I guess it's not the real Nobel Prize.
So weird.
Because he's too young. He's too young too. But he's talking to like even a younger girl, and they're like talking about. She asked him what the communist ethic will be. There's like kind of a scene like this in Breathless too. With which director is it? Is it Melville?
Oh, Melville, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah, Melville's gonna interview.
Like like when because that's in Breathless, that's the scene where he's like
basically some intellectual getting interviewed like all of a sudden.
Yeah. Like what's your goal in life?
But it's also Godard in a way.
Yeah.
Damn, it's crazy Godard and Melville had that falling out.
Yeah, damn.
Godard was right. I'm kidding. I don't know, dude.
Why are you such a Melville hater all of a sudden? I don't understand.
I'm not a Melville hater. Just
you bring up that Rivette.
It's kind of
the Rivette.
Oh, that one's funny.
It is kind of funny. I'm not gonna lie.
The Pavlovian cinema. Well, it's just more like if I was a critic, I would use that for like I don't know, Paul Thomas Anderson.
Okay. Actually, I could get up more with that.
Honestly, that's a great way to describe Magnolia.
It's Pavlovian cinema.
For
cinephiles, yeah.
For Oscar voters. Even though did that win Oscars or anything?
I remember.
I know it was definitely trying to.
It had to.
Yeah.
It was going for it really hard.
It was going. Then I think the next like title is Sociology of the Novel. And then I think Godard's in voiceover when he's like, I like this line where he's like, "We no longer need chance events to photograph and kill people." Like, I'm just talking about cinema, I guess. Like,
okay, we should mention. I want to mention one quote that guy says is actually good, where she asks him, "Is poetry instructive or embellishment?" And then he says, "Everything that embellishes life is instructive." It's like, damn, that's kind of that was the same thing where he's trying to combine like the political and poetic, this idea of like aesthetics and information, being the same thing. Like it. That's kind of what he's, at least in my view, that's kind of what he sees the image as, I guess.
Yeah.
Like a combination of both, but.
Yeah, for sure. But I think we get like a.
And then I also want to mention, because he cuts back to it's a weird scene where he talks with Berto and the husband talking.
Yeah.
Then it cuts to them talking, the Nobel Peace Prize.
Yeah.
Then it cuts back to them. And the reason I want to mention their scene again is because it mentions, now it's like her shaming him. Because he's like, he first says it really quickly. He's like, "You want to come visit my garage?" Or he says something like, "You want to come?" He says something about my garage. And then she's like, "Oh, is it your garage?" He's like, "Oh, no, I just work there." And he's like, she's like, "Oh, wait, why'd you say my garage then?"
Yeah.
Honestly, basically just showing like it's almost like an ego thing, I guess. Like he's just he was seeing if he could get away with it, basically, I guess. But it's just like a small moment I really like too, because.
Well, yeah. Well, although people say that with a lot of things though. Like they say my like.
Yes, like, but she sees it like, okay, he was trying to get away with that. Like, why did you say my garage? Because even then, it's like, oh, it's not mine. It's just like I work there.
Yeah. But even like it's like yeah.
But why would you say my garage if you just work there?
He's like hitting on her. So.
Yeah, he's trying to. To me, that's what she's trying to imply anyway. Like he was trying to impress her, I guess, until she was questions him.
Yeah, for sure.
But she's I mean that. Yeah, it's definitely what's happening.
Because then they even have this kind of conversation about words again, where she's like, "Why do things have specific names?"
Okay, yeah.
And then he says, "Because they're given them." And then she's like, "Who gives them? Since you know the world so well, do you know yourself?" And he's like, No, not that well." So I think he's kind of making the point of like, we don't know ourselves that well. Then how can we be so sure about like things we name in the world? And
yes,
you know.
And I think the next major is when she's in front of the building.
Yes.
She's talking.
Where the camera like does that pan across.
I didn't write down what she was talking about, but she's talking to the camera.
Yes.
And then the camera just starts like completely 360 degree like over like around the city and then back to her basically.
Well, it's another kind of this idea of like I can describe a face all I want, but it's not the same as like kind of seeing it in a way. Okay. I kind of have it all written down if you want.
Yeah, you can.
Okay. All I remember is that it happened. Maybe it's not important. Maybe it was when I was with the guy from the metro going to the hotel. I had a funny feeling. I thought about it all day. The feeling of my ties to the world. And then the camera starts spinning.
Yes.
Because it's looking at her in this great, like, kind of like Godard shot of like she's at the very bottom of the screen, her face, and like the buildings behind her.
It's like gray buildings too.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
Like...
And then the camera starts to spin like this beautiful, like 360 pan across the buildings. And then while it's spinning, she's saying, "Suddenly, I felt I was the world, and the world was me. It would take pages and pages to describe it, volumes and volumes." And then it comes back to her face, and then she says, "A landscape is like a face." We're tempted to say, "I just see a face with a certain expression," but that doesn't mean but that doesn't mean it's an extraordinary expression, nor that you'll try to describe it. We may feel like saying that it's this or that, like she looks like Chekhov's Natasha, or the sister of Flaherty's Nanook, but you'd be right to say you can't describe that with words. Still, it seems to me that the expression on my face must mean something that stands out from the general design. I mean from the sort of form outlined. It's as if you could say that this face has a certain expression, and then actually it's this one's. For instance, exhaustion. And then it cuts to her with her husband. Okay. But basically this idea of like, you can't describe a face, like, this idea like he's almost defending cinema in a way too, as like, the image itself as a face is different than just describing it as much as you can describe it. It's like two different things. Yeah. In a way.
Which I guess is like kind of.
But I love that shot too, where it like spins across, like
amazing.
while she's talking.
It's like especially the view of like I think it's Paris. It's definitely Paris.
But just these buildings though.
Don't you see like a bit of like the skyline?
Maybe a little bit, but it's more just like the kind of these like gray buildings around her.
Well, it just brings me back to the very beginning of the movie. Whenever he's saying she turns her face, it doesn't mean anything. It's like it might not mean anything technically, but it could mean something to the person watching also.
Yeah.
That's why meaning is a very like it's a slippery term, I guess, in a way. Like
It has no distinct meaning. Like, there's no reason, as like the director can specifically say she turned her head this way or something like that.
well, that's the kind of cinema he wants anyway.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think the next scene is when they're taking the kids home. Because this is when we get the return of the kid, right? Which is this is
The
hilarious.
return of the kid.
Because he's talking about like
Is this on the stairs?
yeah.
Oh, I love this.
Where he's like reading about
He's talking about the camaraderie between boys and girls at school.
something.
Like, oh my
Yeah,
god.
yeah. Honestly, that's kind of a you could say this kind of foreshadowing to La Chinoise too.
Honestly, yeah, I can see that.
Like this little kid just talking about politics or whatever.
Yeah.
You know?
But no, he's going in though. He went in though. Like,
Yeah, I mean La Chinoise they do too.
Yeah,
Some of them.
yeah.
Like, sometimes.
but I also love when he like shoots the toy gun at the camera, and it's like he actually puts in gun.
Honestly, that's another La Chinoise thing too.
Yes,
where he goes, we get
definitely.
some of the great shots of like the toy
Yeah.
like tanks and stuff. I guess we'll get to that, but honestly, damn.
Yeah. Because then I think doesn't it cuts to like the dad also shooting the gun too.
Well, it's the kid at the very end where he shoots it and like points at the camera, and he's been shooting it for a couple times and nothing's been happening.
Yeah.
And so when he shoots at the end and you actually hear the machine gun go,
Yeah.
that's like amazing.
Okay. Yeah.
And Godard's done that before too.
Okay. Yeah. It used to be
Just like adding the gun noise.
gun pan.
Yeah.
Yeah. But then I think because then we get the inside the place when she's talking to her husband. They're talking about now what do we do? Like sleep, then what?
Yeah.
Start over, like wake up, go to sleep again. Just like doing like stating like their future basically.
Yeah, and then we die. Like
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Like I think she's like define myself in a word, not dead yet.
Damn. Yeah.
But then, because I think someone. I don't know if this is Godard or not. We said someone says like the man of tomorrow is of above average practical intelligence. This intelligence includes the ability to make decisions and no one's range of knowledge. And then like they're talking, and then like she asks him like, no, do you know the difference between true and false love? And he says, no, what? She says, false love is when I remain the same. True love is when I change, when my beloved changes. And then she's like, I've changed, yet I remain the same.
Yeah.
Interesting. But then we get honestly one of the best shots of the movie, the cigarette,
Yes.
Oh, it's so good.
and like
Damn.
'cause this is when Godard goes back to narrating when he's like
After like the extreme close up on the cigarette, like
yeah, it's like during
It's
it.
lit.
It's during it, yeah.
oh during yeah.
He's like, I serenely take the road to dreams and forget all else. I forget Hiroshima and Auschwitz. I forget Budapest. I forget Vietnam and minimum wages. I forget the housing crisis. I forget the famine in India. I've forgotten it all, except that since it takes me back to zero, I have to start over from there. And then like zooms out of like the like consumer products like in the grass.
So they're like framed like almost like buildings kind of in a way.
Like, yeah,
That's how I
like-
see it.
Just like on like a
yeah, because
like,
we've been
with-
getting these construction shots the whole movie, so
Yeah.
that's why like that the shot kind of reminds you of like construction in a way. Like,
yeah.
no, it's so good. And then like that last line, it takes me back to zero. I have to start from there. That kind of like goes with this idea of both these movies kind of just
It's like a new like Godard
him,
way.
yeah, Godard in a way go back to zero. Because I wanted to read what Richard Brody says about this movie, where he says, "Quote: The zero to which Godard had been brought was both romantic, the loss of the glossy ideal of true love, and cinematic. The loss of Hollywood is an example to follow. In an interview, he declared the need to flee the American cinema, but he had nothing to offer in its place. The film's principle of construction was itself a virtual cinematic zero, a simple alternation of city and object footage with narrative or anecdotal sequences. With two or three things, Godard reached the culmination of a process of decomposition and fragmentation that had begun with Le Nouveau Monde. Romantic despair had corroded his attitude towards both modernity and cinema." I thought that was great. Like first, cause I feel like that in a way it also applies to La Chinoise.
Yeah.
Because I guess we'll talk about that after the break and stuff. But just this idea of like, and I wanted to bring up Vertov too, because this I remember on the Vertov like series, I always mentioned how like one of Vertov's primary things was you film first, you get the footage first, and then you edit after.
Yeah.
And that was like really important because like that's the sequence he believed it should go in, you know.
Yeah.
And you kind of see Godard like, especially with these two movies, like that's how they were made,
Oh,
you know, because
yeah,
like they
no,
could not have
yeah.
been any other way.
Yeah.
than, like,
I thought you were gonna say that it's also like to have a revolution, you have to know what you're doing first. Like you have to know the end goal before actually starting a revolution, because that's a big part of La Chinoise.
okay, yes.
Because I feel like La Chinoise is like We'll get to it. Yeah, we'll just get to it later, I guess.
Okay, yes. No, especially with Last One, I see what you're saying. But I'm saying more from his filmmaker's perspective.
No,
like,
yes.
the idea of montage is, like, if you want to be as true to reality as possible, to film everyday life or everything, you film first without having the idea of, okay, this is what the narrative is, or this is what I'm filming. But instead, you film the everyday life first, and then you kind of put it together later.
Yeah.
And you can tell, like, Bertov, that's obviously was his thing, but, like, both, and I'll mention after the break, too, like, La Chinoise was specifically made like that, too, but this one feels like, obviously, it was made like that,
Oh, yeah.
But it's almost like, just, like, to me, that's a true belief of montage, versus, I mean, talked about all these directors I've liked, but especially Bresson, like, what can cinematography do that's different than just reading a book, you know?
Yeah.
And we mentioned all this throughout this episode, like, Godard finds all these different ways to do that.
Definitely, yeah, for sure.
But it's interesting, like, he's saying he's going back to zero, but, like, if you watch, like, I have History of Cinema in my head, it feels like he's always struggling with that, you know, he can never truly leave the American cinema or Hollywood in a way, you know, but...
Can't leave Johnny Guitar behind.
No, exactly, dude. But what about you? What do you think about this movie?
No, I love this movie, like, it's definitely growing
Top
on me,
tier?
That's tough to say.
Yeah, okay.
I need more time.
Okay,
I'm trying to
okay.
think. I don't know.
Because we'll be tearing at the end, obviously. Right? Of the series?
We'll be ranking them.
We'll be ranking.
Damn, I thought I made a good argument. I mean, you guys ever...
No.
We could do both.
It's in the top tier of the 60s, though, in my opinion. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
Probably. Maybe. Anyway, we're gonna go break. After the break, we'll talk about La Chinoise.
Le Vietnam brûle et moi je hurle Mao Mao. Johnson rigole et moi je vole Mao Mao. Le napalm coule et moi je roule Mao Mao. Les villes crèvent et moi je rêve Mao Mao. Les putains crient et moi je ris Mao Mao. Le riz est fou et moi je joue Mao Mao.
C'est le petit livre rouge qui fait que tout enfin bouge.
And we're back from the break. So now we're gonna go and get into La Chinoise, which for right now it's probably my favorite Godard. I don't know if it's like, it's just tough to say. Like it's all probably gonna change. Like this is the nature, especially because I haven't seen like everything yet, and like I don't know, with Godard I feel like it's like you get something new out of a lot of his movies as you age and like as you like learn more about really everything. Yeah, I absolutely love this movie. Like, it's such an interesting because you said earlier you talked about it like we were talking about like how it's like how he's talking about like things being political and poetic at the same time. Like that's like such a good way to describe this movie. But like I also will add in one thing that you can't describe this movie without is that it's the humor of it really. Yeah. Like this movie's hilarious, and a lot of times it's like, and there's a lot of like stuff that you don't even like that's like less obvious too. That's funny about it too. It's like it's something like I always come back to and I like learn new things to laugh at. But it's also like it does a really good job combining being very serious, while also like at points like making like interesting like serious points, but also like having fun with it. Through the content and with the form. The form in this movie is just like kind of unbelievable. One of my favorite things about Godard is his use of intertitles, and I think this movie might be his best at using them. Like it's because in a way, like it's almost like
That's also another Vertov thing too.
Is it okay? I mean that makes sense. Like
Vertov loved it.
Like intertitles are art in themselves. Like that's
Yeah,
how
exactly.
they're literally an art in
Exactly.
themselves, basically in this movie. It's just like it's a movie that literally. I really just a lot of time I really just watch it a lot for the form really. That's like a large part of my appreciation is, even though don't get me wrong, I love like the rest of the movie too, but the form especially what I like am drawn to I feel like most in this movie. But no, what it's talking about is really interesting too because like it's a movie that it doesn't give a clear like position it's going for, which is why there's so many readings of this movie. where it's like some people think it's like a full on like parody or satire of like these like radical youths. Like, oh, Godard's making fun of them for like being, you know, like these like far left like terrorists or whatever. And then but then there's also the people that are like and I kind of fall more on the side of he's not really he is poking fun of them, but it's more like in a constructive way. Like I think he likes these kids quite a bit, which we'll talk about more. There's specific scenes that really like draw that out. But it's a really interesting movie because it makes you think about it. It doesn't like it's not from an angle that's very clear. Like you immediately get it. You have to really think about it, which I really like. But yeah, there's a lot of this movie I love. But I'll go ahead and ask y'all your thoughts on it.
No, yes. So this to me, like, I think he loves these kids because he is these kids. Like, this is what he used to be, and I think the big part.
Well, I think to me, this is what he still sees himself as in a way.
I don't think this is what he sees himself as now. I think that this entire movie is his basically an answer to his like film revolution stance, almost like.
But see, that's why I see himself as. This is why he still sees himself like this.
Because
they don't have an answer though. Like Godard has an answer now, and that's why I think he's like. Not the same as like he's grown past these kids almost like he still loves them because that's what he used to be basically, but like this is his answer to like what film should be essentially, or like this is his like this is his answer to like his own question of like
so what
how
do you
start a
film
revolution?
What is that answer?
It's just like he's politicizing this in like ways that you've never like seen before, like this type of movie. I honestly lose track of how much is said in this. There's just information overload. Honestly,
is overload. Yeah.
It's the real reason I love this movie now is because this is my second time watching, and I liked it a lot the first time, but I didn't know why. I still don't know why I love it so much this time, but it's one of his that has just so much that you can glom onto on a rewatch, man. Like the rewatch value of this is the most I've seen in any of his movies, I think. Like it has so much. It has so much rewatchability just because there's so much that you missed the first time.
Oh yeah, there's so much.
Like I don't know, man. It's I don't know what he's like. I don't know. I know like some of his like gripes on the movie systems and like how movies are made and how like they shouldn't be made. Like how they shouldn't be made. Like in the American studio system of that day, especially now. But I don't know exactly what he's like fighting back against, is what I'm trying to say. But whatever that he's fighting,
I think he's fighting against specifically. He's pitting the distinction between political idealism and political realism, or maybe there's a better word for that. But basically, like theory versus practice. Basically, I feel like in like basically how some radicals, and we see this like honestly perfectly like illustrated in the train scene, which we'll get to. People who talk all this theory when it comes to politics. You can probably bring this to other things like cinema maybe. They talk all this theory, but like, what's even the point if you're not going to do anything about it? Like,
yeah,
that's why I see Godard as almost self-criticizing himself.
Yeah,
even in his own movie,
definitely is.
And the reason why I say like in a way, yeah, Godard's obviously he sees himself as a little better than these kids because he made this movie as like he thinks there's some reason making.
He has a response,
but at the same time, I still think he sees cinema as a way as like it almost in itself. He seems kind of helpless. Like cinema really can't do that many things political in a way because like the gap between doing something political is like he sees himself as like more like these kids. Yeah. And one example of that is like apparently like during the shoot, him and Anne Wysensky actually lived in the same apartment where they shot all this. And like you see multiple times like they leave like the clapboard of the actual filming starting and stuff like that. And there's like certain moments where they're interviewing the people, and that's actually it's like Godard's own voice you hear in the background asking questions and stuff.
Like
where you can kind of feel like Godard's he's trying to merge this like him actually living in this real apartment and then like filming a movie about making a movie or. Because in the movie, they're making a movie about filming these kids.
Yeah, so it's like because they're like, well, yeah, I'm an actor. I mean, it just gets confusing.
And then another example of that is Richard Brody points out that that guy that she has the conversation on the train, Francis Jean. His name is I forgot his name. I have it later, but he was apparently one of the leading activists for the FLN during the Algerian War, and he also tutored Anne Wyzemski in college, like the previous semester, and Godard was also there doing all their lessons.
No,
So it's basically like a lot of probably similar conversations they actually had like in real life.
Because N.Y. Zemsky got Godard into Maoism, we should mention.
Yes.
She's a big part of it.
Oh, okay, yes, because she was in college kind of during this time. So that's what I'm saying, like, it's kind of like Godard even seeing, like, he's trying to relate to these kids in a way, but also trying to relate, like, he's, like, making fun of them in a way, and also making fun of cinema, like, how much political can cinema actually do in a way, you know?
Yeah.
Because we'll see, like, in his future movies where, like, the Vertov movie groups I've seen, like, I just have to be honest, they're more boring, you know? Like, they're more, like, they're less, like, filmy in a way, you know? Because he's trying to, like, you can see in the future movies, he's trying to get more and more direct, especially in those 70s, early 70s movies, like, what's the most documentary we can get, in a way, you know? And then I think he moves away from that, too, in the 80s and stuff.
Yeah.
But, you can kind of tell, like, he's struggling with that idea, like, what does it mean to, like, can a film actually help politically?
Yeah.
You know, can it be, like, the same way Eisenstein saw it and Vertov saw it? It's, like, that kind of, or is it just, like, people playing around in, like, for fun, you know?
That definitely
and this movie kind of has both, you know?
Yeah.
It's, like, teaching you real theory in a way, or at least, like, this idea of it, of, like, how people treat it. But there's this review I love on Letterboxd from this guy I follow on Twitter, and I used to listen to his podcast for a while. His name is Donald Hughes. But I think he, like, points out this movie perfectly and why, like, Godard, like, loves these kids, but he's also poking fun of them. Yeah. He says, quote, "A lot of sugar to help the medicine of Marxist-Leninism go down. Yes, the kids are isolated buffoons, up in the clouds of revolutionary theory and a little too excited to kill people. But what's so good about the normal world? A bunch of bombs being dropped at Vietnam and stuffy old people holding meetings about criminal compromises. The kids know things can't go on like this, and their confusion is ours."
Yeah, damn. Yeah.
It's like, because we still relate to a lot of these kids, you know, like, what they're saying, like, she has this, like, line in that one point where they're having this meeting where she's like, people should get movies for free and they should have to pay to go to war instead of the other way around. You know? Like, stuff like that, you know, like, yeah, it's like idealism, but
it's like a childlike view of the world, but like, and like, you get it.
Especially how the movie ends, where even it admits that, where she's like, I had to go back to class, like, you know, they just pack up and leave.
See, that viewing definitely lends to a very pessimistic view on the end of the movie too, like, because that's how Godard. I mean, I guess that's how Godard kind of like does do.
Well, it's pessimistic, but it
still has optimism in it.
But it has optimism because that quote she says at the end is like, I realized it was just the first step in a long journey.
She knows it's a process.
Yeah, exactly.
No, yes, but it's very, like, it's kind of like reminiscent of what Godard actually does after Weekend. Like, he does actually stop making movies for
Weekend literally...
Like, he does close his doors, basically.
Weekend literally is the movie where he's, like, shutting it on. Like, he's like, fuck all this shit. Fuck
But see, we've been saying that for, like, how many of these movies?
Weekend is, like...
Dorothy...
No. Wait, no.
We literally said that about Made in USA
also. We've been saying that every fucking
Weekend is his final, like, okay, you guys aren't listening to me. This is why, like...
No, we said that about 2 or 3 things I know about.
Weekend literally is, like... I'll talk about
another example, you could say.
But it's like... It feels like a grand finale. That's all I'm saying. We'll talk about next week. Yours a Weekend.
I'm excited about it.
Because remember what I just read in that Richard Brody quote?
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Do things I know about her. Culmination of a process of decomposition and fragmentation.
It feels like
I'm sure Richard Brody will say that about Weekend also.
I'm sure he will. All right.
Anyway.
And so we go find a review about Breathless. It's like that.
But okay.
But like, Weekend's different.
Do you like the movie though?
I do like it.
Okay.
It's a fun watch. Like,
definitely.
There's all the different colors too.
Yeah, just like what he's doing, like.
So much red.
And it's like, you could think of it also just as a documentation of Jean-Pierre Laut and Wyzemski's faces in a way, I'd like to.
Yes.
Or really all of them, really. Because like, he's almost using them as inner titles too. He'll like shoot like Jean-Pierre Laut in front of a wall, and like that'll be like an inner title. Yes.
That will be the inner title.
Because I mentioned like Vertov's influence, just this idea of like, you film material first and then you edit later.
Yeah,
it has to be that specific order. Because Richard Brody mentions a Godard quote where he says, quote, "La Chinoise was exclusively a film of montage. I shot autonomous sequences without any order, and I organized them later." It's almost exactly like what... He must have been reading Vertov. It's like what reading Vertov in. Like, this idea of shooting first and then editing later. And that's where it's like, you can tell it's very disjuncted in that way, but it's like almost like, okay, well, what can we film in this apartment today? You know, like, or how can we film it?
Yeah, like narrative is not existent.
Yeah.
As we can talk about.
When you saying it was like filmed collectively, or that's what he's trying to portray in this movie earlier in this podcast, It definitely makes sense, although it does still feel like Godard at the end of the day. But
It does, but like the other person I mentioned was Edgar Edgar Gorin, who was like the guy that started the Murtaugh group with him, and where he says, especially with an interview asked him what was basically Gorin's involvement, and he says, "I don't have a screenwriter, but I have perhaps an extra guy who Preminger doesn't have, who I need, a kind of assistant with whom I can speak, who is at the same time my friend, who doesn't help me with the film, but simply helps me because I have someone to live the film with me while I'm creating it."
Yeah.
And the idea is that last line, live the film while I'm creating it. Like, he's literally living with
Yeah.
Wise-Dembski while he's making the movie. Like, that's how he's talking about Edgar Gorin, like the screenwriter that's not a screenwriter exactly. But, because there's no screenwriter. Like, he didn't write a script really for, like, a lot of his movies. They're kind of like just ideas he would write on the same day.
Yeah.
But basically, like, because Brody also mentions, like, this painter that Godard was also having a lot of conversations with during the movie, and the painter claimed that you can see his influence like all through the film. Their conversations anyway throughout the film too. I'm like, that would make sense because like it feels like he's trying to make like a film that's so much in its own time.
Yes.
But
there's ways to do that bad, but like.
And he also mentions how this is a very prophetic movie because it's the next year where they had like the student revolts. And
the May
stuff.
68.
So that kind of has this all idea of like students that are obviously upset with the world they're in right now, and she's even talking about like bombing the university and stuff. But it's basically those frustrations, right?
Yeah.
Like, because that guy on the train, he's like, he says he's like going to a different city to try an experiment where they run a play where they act like they're. I forgot what exactly their experiment they're running, but it's like, it sounds like something Godard would do, what he's trying to do anyway.
Yeah.
But. No, it's a really interesting movie, and I guess we should mention it is funny.
Oh, it's hilarious.
That's why where he mentions that montage stuff, where I think like a lot of silent comedies are so good at that idea of just like a series of gags, but just kind of their relation next to each other like forms the movie in itself. It gives you the idea, like something like Modern Times, but it kind of has that movie kind of has this vibe to it. Like you shouldn't be trying to put it together too much.
No,
you should kind of if going in like okay, it's just gonna end like them. Like, it's like a summer vacation movie, and at the end you're gonna have to go back to school. Don't take them too.
There's definitely stuff I'm missing too, which is like because there is a lot of like. Obviously, I'm not the most well read on like a lot of political theory, but like there's probably some like jokes that are like harder to like know like if you.
It is a lot too going on.
Yeah, there's too like it's a lot too. He's gotta flow with the images, But yeah, we can go ahead and go into it. So the movie, it starts out insane because it's just like he starts out with the Henry, one of the students. He's reading the book, basically about like how to make revolutionary action possible. There's a lot of scenes of people reading from text in this movie, which go on for quite a bit. But he's still reading something about like how how does one start a revolution basically. And then, like, Godard cuts to an intertitle where it just says "the," and then we get the shots of like Jean-Pierre Laut and Wise-Dembski's hands, like next to each other, and they're talking about like what is a word? A word is what is unsaid. Both sides against each other. Me, not you who tries to tame the unforgettable. Myself now. The you of excuses and reaction. We are the words of others.
The shot is so good.
That shot, yeah, it's
hands are they like touch and then they hold hands.
Yeah, it's like it's the white wall. It's like crazy. And then it's also one of my. But the next shot is honestly one of my favorite shots in the movie. Where because the aspect of this movie too is like on the walls there are like a lot of words and stuff that are kind of plastered on that they kind of do interact with a little bit throughout the movie. But this one is we should replace vague ideas with clear images. Yes. It's like it's just like that's what cinema really is in a way. Or
Godard's what he wants cinema to be.
What he wants it to be. But also I think he might be also referring to them too. You could describe their ideas as vague, maybe.
I think so. Yeah.
So maybe he's like saying like, put those into action, like make them clear, basically, like into images, really, literally. But then I think we get Veronique is going through this is hard because it's like he often like he goes into a scene like for a moment.
There's definitely some stuff I missed.
Like Veronique is like listening to the radio and then she's like listening to the radio. I think they're talking about like radio pecking something. It's like something to do with like the Vietnam War or something.
Yeah.
And then we get the intertitle, "The Imperialist," and then the shot of Jean-Pierre Lot smoking a cigar in front of like the red wall. It's like one of my favorite shots in the movie. It's like unbelievable.
Yeah, and
it's just like how effective the colors are in this movie. They're very like noticeable. And then,
especially the red, like
yes,
the
red.
and stuff.
And also just Jean-Pierre Lot. Like, I mean, I've talked about it before. Like, I love him, but like he especially lets him go off in this movie because he's kind of the. I think you could say he's the Godard stand-in, maybe.
I think so. Yeah, he's because
I mean, he's the one dating M.Y. Zemsky, like, but, and then we see him smoking against the red wall. We see a wall with a minority with the right ideas is not a minority. And then we see the Henry being brought in. He's like bloodied. I think this is what she says to him. I think it's kind of a joke when she's like, "Was it fascists? No, communists. The Sorbonne Marxist-Leninist group. I told you they were disgusting." Like he's like almost like the leftism infighting.
Yeah, that kind of seems like that.
Because I think Jean-Pierre Lot then walks and he's like, "Enemy attack is a good thing. It proves we made a clear distinction to separate us."
No, honestly, that one's funny too.
Yeah.
Like being taken seriously now to be attacked.
Which I think it's interesting because honestly, watch this movie makes me want to go back and watch Oshima a little bit because he has a lot of movies about like leftist infighting. Okay. Obviously, his movies are a bit more serious because he's actually like a real political writer. He's very interested in it. Which Godard's definitely, but Oshima's more like classical. I feel like about like political writing, but then we get I think we get Jean-Pierre Lot. Basically, it's like his interview in a way. Yeah. Because there's multiple interviews throughout this movie. Because he's reading to the camera first, some book, and then he's like, this is when he says he's an actor. First off, it's like talking behind the camera, and then he says, "I'll show you something, an idea of what theater is." Now this scene's amazing because he's like when he's rapping his bandit, he's telling the story. Yeah, like of the guy.
What's the Chinese protester? That covered his face to look like he had burns. Yeah,
and then like basically went to like the press, like yelled at the press about like his injuries or whatever, and then like unwrapped it. And
he yells, "Look what the revolutionaries did!" But then when he reveals he has no burns.
Damn, yeah. They didn't realize it was theater, real theater, reflection on reality, like Brecht or Shakespeare. And I think when he said like Brecht or Shakespeare, he cuts to the inner titles of like their pictures.
Yes, he does. Yeah.
Like it's amazing.
But this idea of real theater.
Yeah.
By being more fake in a way.
Yes.
You know, by the actor revealing himself. No, it's kind of interesting.
Or it's also, it could just be like real theater. And like, this is also just the only thing the news pays attention to. Like, if something actually harmed you, they love the shit about like dead babies. Or just like people like main people of war and stuff like that, or like revolutionaries doing this to just like citizens. So like whenever they figure out it's just like all hoax or not hoax, but just like there are real scars things like this can leave on you that aren't like physical scars, but they don't ever pay attention to that. So
yeah, interesting.
But then
I can see that.
But then we see the shot of the camera shooting him, Rocketard shooting him.
So good.
Oh shit! Yeah.
Yeah, at the end of this, and then this is when you talk about the slate being shown. This is one of the scenes that has that when it's like we see the shot, and it's Henry leaving the room, and then it's Veronique and Yvonne basically talking to each other, and like Veronique is like, she's obviously like one of like the heads of the like, I guess their group, because she's like lecturing Yvonne about like, I think she's like basically talking about how like
which one's Veronique?
Veronique is M.Y. Zemsky's character. Okay. Yvonne is the other girl who's also into the things I know about her.
Julie Berteau.
Julie Berteau, yes. And basically, I think she's saying like inaction is like bad, basically, or like if you're unaware, you're blind, basically. Like, I guess being apolitical is bad is basically what she's kind of saying, like, or just like not taking action. But then we get, because I love we get intertitled Dialogue to Yvonne, and this is when we get like the Yvonne interview. When she talks about like her backstory, because she's like honestly, you could say similar to the other girl from, cause she talks about she's from the country, but she also said she also works as a prostitute, like on the side to get some money.
She said that she started out as a prostitute.
Or did she start? Or...
I think it was because she had to, but then later on, whenever she got an actual job, she went back to it just for side money, essentially.
Okay, yeah. Which, I mean, it's similar to the...
It is very similar.
To the thing they were talking about in Two Things I Know About Her.
Yeah.
Then we get shots of Jean-Pierre Law. The shots of Jean-Pierre Law just, like, walking around reading to everyone, like, really loud is so funny. Because I've said before, Jean-Pierre, just put him in front of a camera and let him do whatever, and it's like...
Did you mention the 8.5 reference?
He didn't.
Oh, wait, what scene was that?
It's like
again?
that quick scene of Julia Berto and the guy with the glasses. I think they're a couple. And they're just talking in the kitchen, and they're like, "You said we could go see 8.5."
Okay, yeah, I forgot about that line. Yeah.
And then also, there's that scene of Julia Berto also being interviewed in close up too.
Yes, yeah.
About her like being for the country. So that's what you mentioned.
Yeah.
And then it's that.
Because Jean-Pierre, because Veronique is writing on the wall. Because on the wall, it's so funny. Like I had to translate quite a bit of it. So you know what she's brought? It's like an equation, but like words. And the top of it says, translate from French to English. There's probably it's probably something bad. Like
what could go wrong?
Bad geniuses. And then there's a line, and it goes reaction plus revision plus police plus Yankees. And then there's a line again, and I think this is basically saying like it's equal to junk dragons, but it said like dragons of junk, or something like that. It's there's probably some translation issue, but basically like Veronique's like writing this on the wall, and then the guy, one of the guys asks her, "What's for Monday?" And she goes, "Crime and politics." And then she does. I love the thing she does when she what's the thing on the wall? It's like this like creature like on the wall, and she like grabs the hand of it, handle, and just like slaps it on the wall, like dun, 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 and then it cuts to the next scene. You know what I'm talking about?
No.
It's like a clock thing or it's like an animal creature like figurine on the wall. It's I don't know the sound it makes though when she's like slapping against the wall. It's like she's like showing him like what it's like what the equation is in a way or something. It's so fascinating. Like,
do you remember this?
I don't remember.
How do you guys not remember this? I guess it's a brief scene, but then we get a lecture by Omar.
Wait, how many times have you seen this?
It's my third time.
Okay, that's not that. Okay. I thought that you would have said like 6 or something.
No.
Because
I'll get there at some point.
Yeah, no, that's something I would notice after. That's something I would notice, especially next watch. Now that you mentioned it.
But we get a lecture by this one guy. He's like a philosophy major or something.
He's a philosophy student. Yeah.
Philosophy student. I didn't really right, but he's like
saying a lot of stuff.
He's like lecturing about like Stalin and like Lenin and stuff.
Yeah.
I don't know if you wrote anything down.
Nah, not really. It's one of those like he's giving a long lecture about basically socialist revolutions.
Yeah.
Is this the one where they're yelling in the background?
No, that's later.
Oh,
that's
okay.
later.
Like
that's hilarious.
What Stalin? He's talking about what Stalin's death meant. The real thing I have from this scene is on how it's shot.
Okay.
Where he's behind the walls that they're all listening,
yes,
and he's like the camera's going back and forth that he's talking, as they're all listening.
Wait, no, that's later on. Oh, is that this?
He does it again.
Okay. Might do it again too.
Because honestly, it's something like Jerry Lewis, like Ladies Man. You guys haven't seen it. It's like this like dollhouse type thing, and he like does that like to different like rooms.
But this one's just going back and forth in the same room while he's talking the whole time, and just like.
If you saw, you would see what I'm talking about. If you saw Ladies Man. You need to watch it.
No.
But then we get dialogue 3, which is the interview with Veronique. I don't know why I couldn't say that. And then she kind of like talks about her backstory. Is this when she reveals that her parents were bankers? I think it might be during.
I didn't write it down.
Because I think that's also something Godard sees in them. Because he also basically the point is like her parents are like bourgeois basically.
Yeah, I think so.
But like Godard's parents were also like more bourgeois.
Yeah.
I've read, so like it's definitely something he probably saw in them.
No, because I think that's kind of point she's even saying. She's like, she's at one point. I know I'm cut off from the workers. That's why I keep studying.
Okay, yeah.
But that's kind of, to me, that's like one idea of the movie. Like that's why I say it relates to Godard in a way. It's like, what do you do if you're cut off from the workers? You know, you're not literally a worker. Is there any way you could actually even help? You know. Yeah. It's like true for a student and for a filmmaker. In a way.
Yeah. No, this interview it's so interesting too because she's talking about like how like revolution must be violent. You know, like you're like okay, and then she's like. Then she also like wants to eliminate exams and like apparently that like she says like they're racist because they're only for full-time students and they like create sexual frustration.
Let her cook.
That's like so it's just so random too. It's just like what the hell.
There's a lot of frustrations you agree with throughout the movie.
Yeah,
what they say.
Yeah, it's really interesting. Yeah.
I think it's a very interesting thing to look at in terms of like just seeing youth passion too.
Yeah, I guess
like because like it's obviously what we'll mention later on the train ride with the teacher or whatever talking with her about needing a goal for your revolution. Essentially, like you need to have a plan for after the revolution. It's something that youthful passion usually forgets. Is like
and he also
if
points
there's
out
a revolution,
that,
you need to have a plan afterwards too,
and people on your side as well.
Yes,
that's what he says too. Like the workers, I guess, in this case.
Yeah.
Yeah, because
but then we get Veronique and do you guys know how to pronounce Jean-Pierre Law's character's name?
What's his name?
I just wrote Jean-Pierre Law.
How do you pronounce that?
Guillaume.
Is it actually how you pronounce
it?
Yeah,
Guillaume.
Yeah,
Guillaume. I think so.
I kind of just want to say Jean-Pierre Law just in case that's wrong.
Yeah,
like
I'm pretty sure it's Guillaume.
Okay. Basically, they're sitting at and this is a hilarious scene. Well, it's funny, but also I can see maybe like people taking it seriously because this is when they're like, I want to be blind. Well, they're talking. Jean-Pierre Law says, I want to be blind. And she goes, why? Speak to each other better. We'd listen carefully. Yes, how? We'd use language differently. Don't forget, in 2,000 years, words have changed meaning. So we talk seriously to each other, which means finally meanings would change words. Right. Talk as if words were sounds and matter. That's what they are, Veronique. Right, let's try then. On the riverbank, green and blue, tenderness, a bit of despair. After tomorrow, maybe. Literary theory, a film by Nicholas Ray. The Moscow Trials, Redbird, rock and roll, etc. You know I love you. Honestly, to me that's kind of like what Godard films feel like too, in a way. Like
those one-word things.
Like literally just like
he has those in a few of those in his movies.
Yeah, like that, like
these kind of moments like those.
Like just like mixing in like talking about the Moscow Trials, right? Like having something about the Moscow Trials right after you're like something about like a Nicholas Ray film, basically. Yeah. But also it like so you take it seriously in that way, but also just so funny. Like talk as if words were sounds and matter, but that's what they are, Veronique. But then we get them waking up in the morning and do the routine on the balcony. Or like the theoretical base, which serves as a guide in our thinking, is Marxism, Leninism, and then like they look. It's like they're
just stretching while they say.
You can see like also like Jean-Pierre Laud's like hitting on Yvonne.
Oh really?
Yeah, he's like slapping her and stuff.
Damn.
But okay, there's an inner title after this too that I think is a joke because he does it multiple times when he slashes the inner title. The imperialists are still alive. Like he's saying like they did all of this, but like you know the imperialists are still there. Like no actions really.
To me, I didn't say a joke. It's more like this is what's spurring them on.
That too. I guess it could be both.
That's how I see it. Like,
it could be both. Like, one's just poking fun at them for not having done anything yet. The other
it's
one's just
kind of
like
both,
it's something spurring them on.
Because I forgot to mention, Godard, I guess, at one point said his motive in making the movie was, quote, to reunite Moscow and Peking against the common enemy, the Americans. Which you could say the imperialists is another word for that.
Well, because I don't know if we've gotten there yet, but there is a really great quote at some point in this talking about how Western culture has these revolutionaries or this like far left that they'll accept, or like communism that they accept, and then there's communism that they don't accept. And I think he says the communism they accept is Russia, and the communism they don't accept is China.
Yes. Honestly, it's a great point too. Like, because he's talking about how like Russian socialists are going to like visit the president and stuff and golfing with all of them, but like, yeah, they all just wanted to kill the ones in China. because that's who they saw as actually dangerous to overchanging systems at that point. No, I honestly I love that point too, because I was like, damn, I actually just like that directly. I was like, that's a good point.
That's kind of what's happening now, though, too. So.
And then I think it's during this scene where
Talk about Millie.
John, yes,
yeah. This is
because he kind of makes this point. It's one of the, I think it might be in Histories, but he makes this point how like we're told Lumiere filmed reality and Méliès filmed fiction, but we also see examples of Lumiere filming fiction and Méliès filming reality. Yeah. But Méliès's reality, he also filmed with fictional characters. And that's kind of like, he just makes that point, like, in a way, like, that's what he's trying to do with this movie, you know, in a way. Yeah. And,
no, yeah, it says...
I'm pretty sure the Lumières are actually credited with the first comedy sketch.
The one in their, like, house or whatever?
It's the garden hose one.
Yeah, in their backyard or something.
Yeah, because, you know, he says, they say Lumiere invented... well, there's a false idea about current events of the movies. They say Lumiere invented current events. He made documentaries. But there was also Méliès who created fiction. He was a dreamer of filming fantasies. I think just the opposite. 2 days ago, I saw a film by Langlois. I don't know how to pronounce it.
That's the guy that ran the Cinematheque.
Okay, yeah.
I think so. What's it called?
Yeah, I think
yeah. Whatever, the leading friend. It was basically who taught Godard a lot of... introduced Godard to a lot of different American films and early films and stuff. Yeah,
2 days I saw a film by Langlois about Lumiere. It proves Lumiere was a painter. He filmed the same things painters were painting at the time. What did he film? He filmed train stations, gardens, workers going home, men playing cars. He filmed trams. Okay, but he says like he calls Lumiere one of the great expressions. I didn't write the rest of the quote down. But then someone says like Méliès is the same way. But he says no. What Méliès was doing at the time, he filmed A Trip to the Moon. Méliès filmed the King of Yugoslavia's visit to President Falliège, and now in perspective, we realize those are current events.
Yeah.
Like it's an interesting point.
No, because he says he filmed those current events, but he used actors to film a current event.
Okay.
And I think he's trying to make. That's what Godard is trying to do.
Yeah.
Like he's trying to film the real world, like this current event, but he's using these actors and stuff. But he's still trying to stay as current as possible. You know.
Yeah, I was fighting.
Like it even feels like Godard actually might have just like watched the movie by that. Lumiere and put it in the film, you know.
Yeah. It's also interesting.
It feels like that.
It's interesting what he says. Also, like talking about how Lumiere filmed the same things the painters were painting at the time.
Yes, honestly, that was a good point too. I hadn't thought about. Yeah.
I
wonder if the movie he saw was that Eric Romer, Jean Renoir, documentary on the Lumieres.
When was that made?
That's a good question. Let me look that up.
It's probably. Is that not what he's talking about?
I don't know if that's the documentary he's actually talking about, because he said I just watched a movie by Lumiere, Langlois about Lumieres.
It's probably. Wait.
I don't know. It might be. Do you remember what that was called?
Damn. You logged it. You get 5 stars, dog.
No, I don't remember if it was like in French. Oh, here it is. I found it. It's just called Louis Lumiere. 1968.
This came out 67.
Okay.
I don't know.
Either way, like I wonder if that was the one.
Although maybe Langlois gave
because Langlois makes that point a lot. Like basically, Lumiere was like all of his compositions were like you could tell like were really like he was framing them, taking a long time to do all of them. You know. Yeah. Damn. I wish he would point out what he was talking about.
I don't know. It's definitely interesting to think because like the Lumieres could definitely be thought of as documentarians because they kind of were, but
that's how they normally are thought of.
They capture moments in time which now feel faker than something like maybe like Méliès's A Trip to the Moon because we've been to the moon. So I think that might be the point he might be making here.
I thought you were going to say kind of similar is like in a way like watching something from 1898 as a documentary in that time feels faker than watching A Trip to the Moon by Méliès, which is like in a way what all fictional films try to be is like, you know, these kind of fake methods to simulate going to the moon or
simulate
something.
Reality.
Like, Méliès feels closer to like the films we kind of get now in a way versus like Lumiere is like just by being a documentary is like further away, you know.
And that is kind of true.
Yeah.
Because it's very like it's the
like they're more paintings like just because I'm more farther away from it, you know. It's like
one of the funnest most fun things about watching like Vertov, and then like I haven't seen a lot of Lumiere, like the Lumiere brothers. I think the only ones I've seen are the hose one that I mentioned before, and then also the train one that I'm pretty sure everyone's seen. Yeah. But like if you watch a Vertov movie, it definitely feels like you're. I don't want to say faker because like it's definitely something that's been lived through, but to us living today, it's something we can't even imagine.
Yeah.
Whereas some like you just said with like a trip to like Millier, like we can imagine how Millier made that because we know how he made it.
Yeah. And it feels like film has like spent more time on that kind of aspect of filmmaking. You know,
yes, like we could remake A Trip to the Moon. You can't remake what Vertov made.
I mean, think about how many movies have been made about trips to the moon. You know, like literally like all the Apollo missions, just like
2001.
Yeah, 2001. Yeah, just
unoriginal.
Yeah, a lot of films are about that.
2001 so
exactly.
Doesn't that Astronaut have a moon trip? I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Wait, is that the next one you thought of?
I was like, what's the most recent one where like we got a good moon
First
trip?
Man.
First Man, that's a good one too.
Moonfall?
They don't go to the, wait, do they go to the moon?
They do.
I haven't seen that
I think
movie.
probably.
I've
Oh,
seen
the
that
moon
movie
falls
twice.
on them actually.
Yeah, it falls on them. I think they might also.
They might have to go to.
It's a reverse on Trip to the
But
Moon.
they might have to go to.
They
it.
might
The moon's
no.
taking a trip.
Actually,
They do go up the moon. They do. They blow up the moon.
Yeah, it's like yeah.
They set off like 48 nukes
It's
or
a
some
reversal.
shit. Like,
It's a reversal on the trip to the moon.
Oh, rolling.
Because it's not a trip to the moon. It's the moon taking a trip to them.
A trip to the. A moon
It's like a
trip.
reversal.
a moon's
of it.
trip to Earth.
Yeah, moon.
A trip to.
A trip to Earth.
Yeah, trip to Earth.
You should watch Moonfall though. You would hate it.
Punishment movie.
Sounds interesting.
It's
You
I
Why would I hate it?
I loved it.
You
in
hate great
theaters.
cinema. God damn, you weren't expecting that.
Anyway.
Schlocky cinema.
You hated Transformers. That's all I'll say.
I mean, yeah.
Which ones? I mean,
Dark of the Moon.
It's with me.
Dark of the Moon is one of the better ones.
If you hated that masterpiece, you'll hate Moonfall.
Oh
for
my
sure.
god.
That's all
Okay.
I'll say.
Anyway.
Oh, Moonfall's so good, so bad, so bad. Honestly, but it's if it was like an hour and a half, it would be so good. But it's like 2 hours 10. It's way too long.
You could have never predicted we would have talked about Moonfall
Yeah.
on this podcast.
Who would have thought? It's about film history. That's the through line.
Godard would respect it.
Yeah.
I wonder if he watched Moonfall.
Anyway, the next scene, I think the next scene is when he's putting on the different sunglasses of the country. He's like asking people to like say a country, and then he's like talking about it. Like when he's putting on the glasses. The glasses are so memorable though.
My favorite part about this is just like actually watching him read like how he has to read it because it's like so funny where his eyes are, where his like head is in proportion to where like he's having to hold the book. Because
Yeah,
those
that's
little
hilarious.
eyeballs, they're so good.
Yeah.
So funny.
And then after that, we see like Yvonne doing like a Vietnam skit briefly, and then like we get like a just almost like we get like a inner titles of the comic books, and just like machine fire, with the comic books like I think the comic book is someone like shooting something, and then we see Yvonne doing like another kind of like skit thing where she's holding like she's holding a gun behind like the red books, which I think the red books are like the Maoism books.
The little
right?
red book. Yeah.
The red book, yeah. Makes the world go round. That's what it says in the song.
Damn, yeah.
But yeah, she's like, I think it's like the poster for one of the posters. It's her like hiding behind the
the desk of red books. Basically.
the desk, the wall, really.
Yeah.
And then like it's so funny going because it's like then we get like a someone with a lion mask like shooting a rocket launcher. It's like
it's just so random.
I mean, it's like so good though. It's like unbelievable.
Yes.
And then I think we see Henry lectures, and then we also see like Yvonne like clean the window. She's like the cleaner in a way of the. She's like their like she's like the proletariat to their bourgeois in this like group in a way.
Yeah,
Which I
she's
think is probably a joke. Yeah.
I mean, she literally says that in an interview.
Just
I
like,
like something about like how she's talking about her maid experience, how she prefers this one more so than the other ones. I guess I don't know.
So it's I feel like it's kind of like an ironic thing, like she's like the worker for them basically.
She
like,
is.
like she's the proletariat, and then because this scene is like him lecturing, and then like she's cleaning the windows while he's lecturing. I think it's a similar shot from the one before, of, like him going through the windows. We get an air title of Descartes face, which that comes back later in a hilarious scene. And then air title They Continue, and then Veronique's being interviewed again. I forget what they're saying, but I just remember it's such a funny moment when the phone starts ringing, and then she like yells at Jean-Pierre Laud to pick up the phone. It's so funny. But then we get second movement of the film, which do you guys remember how this starts off? It's the mouse song. It's the mouse song.
Oh yeah.
Which is, I mean, we played it for the break
Yes.
episode, but yeah, it's unforgettable.
It really is
It's
unforgettable. It's so good.
It fits the movie so well.
It's so catchy too. It's like unbelievable.
This kind of pop song mixed with
Politics.
politics, exactly. It kind of makes yeah.
I mean, it's like you could say the movies that in a way. Too.
Yes, exactly. It
Yeah.
fits the movie perfectly.
And like, cause it's basically like a montage. Basically, it's hard to like describe it because it's like, it truly is like what this movie like really. It's like just moments, really, like just like different cool ways of shooting this, which is crazy because I think I'm trying to think of like how much this movie is literally just set in this apartment.
All of it, right?
Well, there's a few scenes because there's a few scenes outside, like the train,
Oh yeah, the train. Yeah.
the assassination,
And then the
Jean-Pierre Laud selling lettuce and like going to that weird
It's
location.
like the very end of the movie. All
Yeah,
that's
it's like
the last 10
but
minutes
most of this movie literally is just this apartment. So it's like, kind of unbelievable how much he does just in this one location.
I guess that you could say where Godard's interviewing the fifth guy is in a different location technically, but that's probably still in the same apartment and location. But
Yeah. And we get intertitled "The Reign of Despotism in Asia, Africa, and Latin America," and then we get like a scene of this guy lecturing about basically art, and Jean-Pierre Laud's like erasing names off of the whiteboard or like I don't remember what the names, because I think
there's a lot of names.
I swear one of them was like a philosopher or something.
I don't remember the name. I remember the names later that they're or I have some of them.
Yeah,
later
yeah,
that
I know
they're
you talking.
shoes.
Yeah. Which
The
that
only
seems
one- the only one-
hilarious. Okay, we'll get to it actually. Never mind. But you said it.
No, the only one that's left is Brecht though. This is the one that Dave's
Oh, that's
talking
this
about.
one.
Yeah,
I think
okay,
it's just a
yeah,
bunch of playwrights.
Okay, is it? Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. Then. Yeah. So yeah, Brecht's the only one left. And then, because this guy's like talking about like art doesn't reproduce the visible; it makes visible. And then like Veronique's like, but the aesthetic effects are imaginary. He says, yes, but the imaginary doesn't reflect reality. It is the reality of the reflection. And then I think the next scene is the next scene is the scene between Veronique and Jean-Pierre Laud when they're talking about multitasking.
I love this scene.
Yeah, that scene's amazing. Because is this a scene where Brody said it's like from Les Pursuers?
Yes.
Okay. Did you rewatch Les Pursuers?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. Is it actually in the movie?
Well, what Godard says is Godard he derived Max Ophuls. He derived the scene from Max Ophuls' Les Pursuers when Veronique teaches Guillaume how to do two things at once. Why is MC later recalled? There's a great deal of me in the scene, a great deal of her own personal life with Godard. In a fight, she had told him in anger that she didn't like the color of his sweaters, and this appears verbatim in that scene.
Oh yeah. Okay.
But I think it's because like the fighting and there's like the third kind of story in The Pleasure or in Les Pursuers. I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking about. Like they're fighting.
Okay.
It's kind of similar to this. Because I'm not sure exactly. That's why I was hoping you'd watch it too. But
No,
I'm pretty sure that's what he's talking
I'll
about.
rewatch it soon. 'Cause I do need to rewatch it. But then he's like saying, well, she's saying he's asking. He says I do only one thing at a time. I don't understand how you write and listen to music all the time because they're like writing and there's like the music.
She
the
starts the
record player's playing, and then he says like two fronts, too complicated, and then
He starts like going on these weird like rambles about wars being fought in
Yeah.
fronts and stuff like that too.
yeah, it's
like right before she actually goes
oh,
on.
it's so funny.
Oh no, it's amazing.
Oh, it's
Such a
so
good
good.
scene.
It's Jean-Pierre Laud masterclass. Let's be real. But then he says, I think he says, "Do you love me?" Or was it her that says, "Do you love me?"
Well, she says she no longer loves him.
Well, yeah,
No,
because
she asks, I think, do you love
and then he says, "Of course I do."
Yeah.
And then she says, "I've decided I don't love you anymore.
Yeah.
Nor your sweaters.
Nor your
You bore me
sweaters."
terribly. I don't love like it's like he's like so confused. It's so funny.
Yeah, his face like,
It's like a. And he like can't understand it until finally he's like he's like I don't. She's like I don't love you. Understand now? He's like I am sad, but I understand now. And then she says, You can do two things at once. To understand, you had to do it. Music and language. You must struggle on the two fronts.
Well, I think because she turns the music back on at some point.
yeah,
She turns the music on before she tells him.
Yeah,
all
to
this,
kind of
and
make
then,
the
like,
point.
after it's over,
See,
she stops
you can
it.
listen now while you're.
It's so good.
Yeah.
God damn, it's so
Oh
good.
my god, it's unbelievable.
It's like a joke, but at the same time, where especially that last line, music and language, you must struggle on two fronts. It's
Yeah.
like that also feels like this theme we've been talking about. You know, like it's similar to that writer and painter line.
Yeah.
You know, this kind of idea of like these two almost contrasting things in a way, like what cinema is.
Yes.
Or these various arts, I guess, because that's painting and music he's mentioned.
Yeah. And then she's, I think the scene ends with him saying, "But you really scared me." And she goes, "Me too, I'm often scared." And then we get another air tile. They continue oppression in the West. And then this is when we see Jean-Pierre Lod with like the bow and arrow. And he's aiming it at a wall. I think it's just like philosophers and like different people.
Yes.
Because, okay, now that I've read philosophy now, some philosophy, since I've watched this movie. So it's hilarious because he's initially like pointing at Immanuel Kant, and then he shoots it, and it's Descartes that gets hit. Which is, I mean, I feel like I get like Godard standing on it, like Kant's like, because he's like, in ways, it's similar to Alphaville, you could say, like he's putting to death like rational, like just pure rationalism in exchange for like, at least, because Kant was like known for like, he didn't like pure rationalism, but he was trying to combine. He didn't want to go full on to empiricism. He was trying to find like a middle ground between like Hume and Descartes.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
So in a way, he's like, it's so funny. He's like, he's about to aim at Immanuel Kant, but then Descartes gets hit.
Damn.
So I don't know if that's like
He's trying to say that in a way.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just hilarious though,
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
shooting a bow and
Watching
arrow
it,
like
yeah.
at these like philosophers that are dead. Like,
Winston Churchill, a philosopher?
Is
Was
Churchill
he
on
on
there?
there too? I'm pretty
Oh,
sure.
yeah, actually, I
There's
don't know.
other people on there.
There are.
It's
They're
not
like
just
famous
philosophers.
people too.
Yeah. That's so funny. We also get this brief moment of the Joe song coming back.
Yes.
That was in A Woman's a Woman. It like briefly plays in this song.
Oh damn.
Amazing song.
There's like a brief moment where like I think the glasses guy's giving a speech where they're like booing him and stuff.
No, they're like yelling.
Yeah,
They're all
they're
like,
I guess they're trying to distract him for practice. Or something?
I don't know.
I think so.
It's something about that.
That's how I saw it.
It's so
That's how
funny
I saw
though.
it,
Like,
too.
oh my god. It's like,
Gotta practice for the big day.
No, honestly. But then we get Airtile, third movement of the film. Because we're like, and then we get like thrown in this middle of this meeting, and I don't think she even says what they're agreeing on. Because it's like she immediately, it feels like she.
Well, it's better to go do this attack or not.
Was that what she's talking
Yeah.
about? Okay, because she's just those in favor.
Or whether to start a violent terrorist wing.
Okay,
I
yeah.
guess that's what- and he's
they
the
say-
only one that disagrees.
Yeah, those in favor raise their hands, and then Henry doesn't.
The way the camera pans too, it's like
Yeah,
comedy, like
it's
where
so
it pans to the
funny,
one
yes.
guy, like on the other
Yeah,
side who
yeah.
disagrees.
Damn.
And then it's like a good little moment too, where he tries to drag his girlfriend, Julia Bird, to like with him. Basically.
Okay, yeah.
And she's like, "No, I'm not going."
No, I'm not going.
And then it's like just so funny where it cuts. This is where it's like almost like a sitcom.
It's
Where
honestly,
like,
I was about to say that. It's like
where
The
like,
Office.
it
or
cuts like
something.
right after him, like being like, "Yeah, I just
Yeah.
it just didn't work out." Like,
Yeah, like she's confusing.
Obviously-
She's confusing Marx and theater and politics, and that's romanticism. She behaved in life like an actress.
Yeah, damn, yeah.
Uh,
But then also right before that, he tells a story about how this was also a real story too. This is what I'm saying. Like Godard's trying to have like these like real life, like everyday moments in his movies. Like he tells a story about the French government banning Rivets the Nun for a little bit.
yes.
And it was like a big deal at the time. And he like tells that story in it too. That actually really happened.
Yeah. No.
Before they
yeah.
had to go back on it and stuff.
'Cause they end
No,
up-
but yeah, it's like that's what I just like that too. Though.
Yeah, but no, this scene.
Because like he's telling it in a way like this is definitely like Godard mad about it. Like,
Yeah, yeah. It's like, because he also, I think he's like, because he also like, he's like intercutting this like interview with like moments that like made him quit. I feel like I'm pretty
yes,
sure.
yes.
Because it's like showing like Veronique like being like the more like authoritarian leader, I guess is kind of how I read it. And like there's also this moment where like I think also it's during these scenes like when he's like all of a sudden like butting in the narrative with like the it'll like cut into the Mau Mau song for a second and then
Yes.
cut back. It's just so random, but like it's so good though. Because then he then talks about like it's the Johnny Guitar thing, he talks about like the leftist.
Honestly, I said sitcom, but it's more like reality TV. Like, you know, because I was literally we were watching that cooking show before this.
It's more like the person that got voted off the island type shit.
Like that, exactly. Like where you get like even the cooking shows and stuff. Because I was just thinking about how weird it is. Is like, so the event actually happens, like you make the food, but then they do an interview of the person after, like, oh, what was the event like? But they'll intercut that interview while during the event actually taking place. Even the whole interview takes place after. But that's kind of what he's doing, like almost like a reality TV show.
Yeah.
But I don't think reality TV existed now.
Yeah, no, yeah, damn, that's crazy.
So, but this is more just like straight documentary, though. It's like this is more you would get from a documentary.
But it's so interesting that he's like he has these moments of like more documentary, like
because that's what reality TV is trying to be, right?
But then all of a sudden he like butts in with like super like montage.
Yes.
Like almost like he's like combining the two.
Oh yeah, he's combining a lot of stuff.
Yeah. Because but this is when he talks about like Johnny Guitar, like how this like like leftist like newspaper like
they hate it just because it was American.
It was American, yeah.
Like even if it's good.
Which I mean, he's right. How do you hate Johnny Guitar? It's like it's like the greatest movie of all time. No, not that far. It's up there. It's up there.
Even though Blake still hasn't seen it.
Yeah.
I knew this would happen.
Yeah.
Depriving himself of good cinema.
So I have
willingly. But then we get the train.
I literally had that thought because I watched Lost in Wall this morning. I was like, God damn it, I'm gonna have to go this movie.
Yes, sir. Fuck, I don't think he mentioned Johnny Guitar in
Good.
next time. Damn.
But this is the train sequence.
Scene, which is
also starts with another great shot of hands.
Honestly,
They're both holding, like she's holding up like on some like handle.
Yeah.
And his hand is like on the railing. Just a great shot of hands again.
Yeah, and then basically, this is kind of what I was talking about. Like this is like kind of the theory versus like action in a way, or like idealism versus realism. Like he's a Marxist professor, and she's like explaining how she wants to do this like violent like terror like just violent act. I guess you could call it terrorist. I mean, like
she's displaying her rationale essentially.
Yes, like
what's making her do, or not even really what's making her do this. I guess that's what he's dragging out of her. But
like
she's explaining her movement.
Yes, her like why she thinks like violence is necessary, while he's like kind of questioning that like how do you know it's like not going to be like for nothing like but in a way it's like this movie it's like two different people on like different political like spectrums will watch this scene and like agree with a different person. Like he doesn't shoot it like in support of anyone. I feel like it's very like objective. Like I think he really like stays on the same shot for a while in this scene.
Does. It's like right in the middle of the tree.
Yeah. But it's almost like who do you relate to more? Like it depends like what your like alignment is on these things. But it's like
do you remember what Richard Brody says about the scene? Because apparently she has the earpiece.
Okay, yes.
And Godard was giving him the answers.
Yeah.
And so let me read this because it's kind of interesting. So it kind of goes with what you're saying. Quote, years later, Godard discussed the scene and recalled that when he made La Chinoise, he thought that YSMC, that is, himself, speaking into her earpiece, the lines she repeats in the scene, had won the debate about shutting down the university by acts of terror. In retrospect, however, it seemed clear to him that in the film, Jensen's argument is more persuasive. Godard attributed these results to the difference between his conscious sympathies at the time, with Wyazemski's terrorist position, and his unconscious ones, with peaceful forms of political action. His inner conflict would only be exacerbated in the years followed.
Yeah.
So even Godard kind of admits, like, at this time specifically, he almost kind of sympathized more with Wyazemski's almost just, like, violent kind of just impulse. And then, like, he says later on, he kind of more agrees with the other guys. Because early on in the scene where he's like describing why he's on the train in the first place or where he's going, because he's saying he's doing some experiment in the country with theater, and he says, "I'm ditching an attitude held commonly in universities, which is to consider the others, the ones we address, as mere receivers." Yeah. And to me, that's almost like what Godard is trying to do in the future, like in a way, like that idea of like an audience member not purely as a receiver, but also someone that is an active participant in your film. Yes. You know, like they have to be actively engaged. You know, and that's something that's true in if you read like about communism stuff too. You want the person actively participating in your society, right? You don't want them just being like passive participants.
Yeah.
But like I think it feels like Godard is trying to get that with the film, you know,
Yes.
get people to actively engage while watching the film.
No,
you know?
it's a long scene too. Like,
Yeah.
Yes.
But it's just interesting, like how he at the time he even says he's like, first of all, I didn't know that was actually him basically responding to these questions almost directly, like through an earpiece.
Yeah.
But then him like changing his view like later on, saying like
Yeah.
he kind of agrees more with the other guy now.
It's interesting. Yeah. Yeah, it's a great scene. Like, it's also like funny. Like, I don't know. Do you guys like sympathize? Who do you guys sympathize with more?
Well, I see more what he's saying, because especially at the point where he says, like, if you don't have people, like, because she's saying, like, what about the people in Algeria, like the FLN fighters? Because I pointed out how this guy was an activist for the FLN, and that's why it's like they actually aren't really on two different political sides. It's more
they're both.
they
They're
disagree
both
about method,
Yes, yeah.
and like impatience, basically. And so that's why I agree more about where this is one point where she says, "But we know what we're gonna do." And then he says, "So what will you do afterwards? I don't believe you know. You only know the present system is awful, and you're impatient to end it." And this idea of like, we know everything's wrong, and you want to end it, right? You could just blow everything up, but then what's next? You know, if you don't have any kind of plan, like Blake said at the beginning, like, what's the point?
Yeah,
you know,
you're
just
because you almost agree with like on both their sides. You agree with like certain aspects of it, like.
Yeah,
you agree with like
you can see why she's frustrated with the
like
university.
you can respect like how she wants to actually act on it, really, like.
But like his bigger point is like, if people around you don't want this, like he's like saying the difference is people in Algeria wanted freedom. You know, they had the terrorists on their side, right?
Yeah.
They had people behind them. But like, if you're gonna do this, you have no one on your side. People want this society in France. Like that's his major difference. You know, people love this. Like that's kind of what 2 or 3 things I know about her is in a way too. Is like people want this consumer society in a way.
Yeah.
You know, that's kind of what capitalism is. But yeah, that's kind of like his major difference to me. That's why I think it's like an interesting kind of conversation they have. Yeah, because they even asked her at one point, "You think you can make a revolution for others?"
Yeah.
And it's kind of like, as much as you want something, like you can't just force someone else to want that.
Yeah.
You know, even by if you blow something up in a way that could hurt your cause. You know, if you're not doing it right. You know.
Yeah, that's really interesting scene.
Yeah.
That's why it really does feel like Lost in Law is his revolution.
No, according to Lucas, next week.
Okay, no.
They're all revolutionary. There is something to be said about youthful passion, though.
Yes,
Definitely.
that's
Like
more
definitely
of a-
playing into effect in terms of like they don't think ahead as much. And Godard might have been going through the same shit. So.
And then I think because I think it cuts back to right after the scene. It cuts back to Henry.
And is it his story?
Well, no. Does he say first the arguments were off the cuff, or was that after? Doesn't he talk about?
I don't remember. I just remember this is like another one. This is the Godard story in this episode, in this movie.
Okay, wait. So like.
Well, you're talking about how there's like a random story in like every Godard movie.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
This one's like about the Egyptian babies.
Oh.
They thought their language was from the gods, so they left the babies in the room, and they came back 15 years later, and they were all buying like sheep because there was a sheep kennel next door or something.
Oh my god.
They think that's what Marcus Ledman is. Marcus Ledman was like the sheep or something like that. I think he's basically making the point like they're kind of just repeating what they hear, kind of you know, in this closed room.
Yeah,
definitely.
And to me, I think I don't know for sure, but Godard, I think he kind of identifies the most with this guy in a way too. Jean-Pierre Lotte and this guy as being like apart from the rest of the left. You know, like he's arguing for Johnny Guitar and like,
yeah.
And Richard Brody even says like early on, like Godard was more on the right, like before he started making film and stuff in the 50s. You know, he started becoming a leftist after he started making cinema and stuff.
Yeah.
And he had a lot of friends on the right and stuff too. So
yeah, I think Truffaut too was like more right wing.
Yeah.
Too.
Especially at the time they were writing. The reason they were right wing was because they saw the left wing as more censorship towards film.
Okay.
Like they saw that's why Godard was mentioning how of course the left wing wants to ban Johnny Guitar because it's American and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And they saw the right as defending freedom more, like freedom of liberty or like freedom of films and stuff. So that's why. Well, that's one part of it anyway. No.
Damn, that's interesting how things like changed.
Exactly. Yeah.
I guess that's one reason why this movie should exist, or like why like Godard, like maybe even if he doesn't have an answer, like the kids in this movie. Like, it's at least worth trying because
Yes,
like,
that's Godard's whole career. Is like that's
yes.
we have to try. Even
you
if
have
there's
to try. Well, because like we're all three. Well, I don't know about Luke because I don't know how far on the right you were, but like Day and I especially, like people can change political views just by watching more movies, essentially, or like because movies are a great way to open yourself up to like up different cultures and just different world views that you never would have had before. And Godard's honestly onto something with this movie with that. Yes. He might not think he has the answer, but he was definitely onto something. So
even just the way asking the questions is kind of an answer in a way, or at least or showing these feelings that these kids have. You know, like that that youthful passion. It's there for a reason.
Yes.
You know, it's not nothing.
Then I think after that it's we see the one guy, I think his name is Serge. He's like painting the walls like a rainbow, like painting a rainbow like paint.
Like before he kills himself.
Yes, yeah. So then after that, it's Veronica goes on the assassination.
Basically, I forget their exact plan, but I think he draws the stars that he has to take the hit for killing this guy they're about to kill.
Okay.
And so that's why he has to commit suicide or something.
Okay,
but he's also the artist.
Yeah.
The only thing I remember from it's a great shot from like when he's painting to where it cuts to a close up after you hear the gunshot and the rainbow just stops halfway and like there's like a little paint drop. It's just like a great shot, like halfway. He like right after he dies, you know.
Yeah.
But then it's like then we see like she has to go kill this guy.
Yeah, which is
like the guy gets the name wrong.
Oh yeah, they get
like you can tell like right from the beginning of the scene. Like,
it's over.
This is over. Just the way it's shot too. It's like really bright. There's like not a lot of colors.
It's like you're like, wait, where are we now? Like
it's like a totally different world.
And they go this office building and she's like she has to like distract. She doesn't know where the room is, so she has to like look at a sheet that's like behind the desk, and she has to like distract the guy. And so she like goes to look at it like this, gets the number. She thinks she goes to I think it's room. She goes to room 23 or 32. Which one? Was
32 first.
32 first. Okay. And
that's the one she messed.
She was reading it upside down.
Yeah, she was. She goes and commits the murder. Which okay. I love how he cuts to the comic book of the guy shooting it when it happened.
Dude, this is what I'm like. Honestly, we should need more comic books. Just for gunshot scenes, you know, instead of like actual gunshots. Like, it works so much. It works so well.
Honestly, damn. Why couldn't this be comic book cinema?
Yes.
This is real comic book cinema, you know. And then she goes out. Was it the guy in the car that like tells her that or did she? I think she realized.
She realizes.
She's like shit.
Like,
oh, like I read the number upside down.
Yeah, or something.
It's so funny. And then she goes back up and like actually like does it like it's hilarious. I think after this like the group is like breaking up.
It feels like an epilogue basically. Like what they did after the rest of the summer or something.
Because it's like cause I think it's Jean-Pierre Laud that's or someone who's asked. I think it's Henry. It's Henry. When he's asked, "Will you join the normal Communist Party?" He's like, "Yeah, probably."
Well, because Henry's the one not giving the epilogues, but basically saying he doesn't know what happened as we're seeing what happened.
Yeah.
He's like he doesn't know what happened to them.
Yeah. Which I mean, some of these scenes are weird as fuck.
Jean-Pierre Laud is amazing. I love it.
Well, which one? I guess
I just love I guess I just love him selling the vegetables. It's just
that one's
and then like
lettuce,
and then just taking it in the face. That's what's
Well, because initially went at the beginning of the Jean-Pierre Laud section, it says I think it's an inner title that says Year Zero Theater.
Yes.
And then what's the scene? Okay, I still don't understand the scene between him and like the woman.
I don't get that either.
It's like it's like really weird, but like there's like an older woman and there's like a younger one, and he's like in between them. Yeah, it's really bizarre, but like it's just hilarious, honestly, to see him do it. And then there's the inner tiles. Like one at a time, it goes like his years of apprenticeship, and then he's like selling lettuce, and then like he's like getting, and then he gets like thrown. People just throw vegetables at him. I forgot why.
That's what they're paying for.
Yeah. Oh, okay. That's what.
I'm pretty sure that's what they're paying for.
That makes sense.
Okay.
They're paying to throw lettuce.
And then it gets the air house and of travels on the road, and then the final scene is basically they're tearing down the apartment basically, and then I think Then this is when Veronique says has the final
Oh, they tearing it down, or I thought someone who they borrowed the apartment from came back or something.
That might have been it too.
Yeah.
It's one of the two.
Because they ruined it basically.
Yes.
They put all this stuff all over it.
And then
Because I think it's her that says, "Okay, it's fiction, but it brings me closer to reality."
okay, yes. So yeah, obviously.
That's the theme of the movie.
Obviously,
Yeah.
The connection to cinema there. And then she says, "I was wrong. I thought I'd make a leap forward, and I'd realized I'd only make the first 10-minute step of a long march."
Yeah.
And then that's the end of the movie. But yeah, amazing movie. One of my favorites of all time. But yeah, next week it's our last episode of the series, which we are going to be doing Weekend, which also came out in '67. Okay, we should mention this. 2 of the things I know about her, La Chinoise and Weekend, all came out the same year.
Damn, that's crazy.
Like, how's he doing this? Like,
He was filming 2 or 3 things I know about her in '66 though.
I mean, still though.
Still.
Like, he also had another movie come out in '66. He had Masculine and Feminine come out in '66.
Yes, he was a 3-movie year guy.
Bro, he was crazy. He's going crazy. But yeah, so we're doing Weekend 1967.
That's why we can do just a series on the early guitar.
Yeah,
on just
much.
60s, basically.
And 170s. And the 70s is Ta Va Bien from 1972, I think it is. So yeah. Till next time, hope to see you floating through the clouds.